was an ambush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing,
The day you walked away.
but we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunately. Will you haunt me like a dream?
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing. I have to remember.
Remember what?
What's missing?
Nothing that I've been through is possible.
I think you're here for what's in the basement.
This place will not break us. We can still win. But the only way we go home is together.
Hello. The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home. Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here.
Hello?
Like a dream.
You looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really how they seem.
Aunt Cooey.
Remember indeed. I hope all of us remember the season 3 finale. I know it's been a little while, but Pam Jam is on the money, reminding us now that Jim is dead. I am sure Jade is going to slide in there, right, y'all? Yes, love that. Love that. I don't think he is personally. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Jade and Tabitha become an item, but I just feel like Tabitha, even in death, she's going to stay loyal to Jim. I just don't see her and Jade having that kind of relationship, but I do see them being very close. You think they'll become an item? What about you? And let us know in the chat too. What do you guys think? Now that Jim's gone, as Pam Jam brings up, do you think it's a possibility for Jade and Tabitha, or are they going to keep it friend zone? What do you think?
I think it all depends because if they're soulmates, so if she remembers that he's actually her soulmate and
Ooh,
that
yeah.
comes along with feelings, then yeah, they might just go back to each other, right? It might just be that sort of thing where they just feel like they didn't see each other for a long time and they reconnect. So it all depends if part of the uncooing, the remembering, also includes feelings or if it's just information. If it's just information, then I don't think so. I think she also has children. So it's a little bit more difficult with children because the children are going to be mourning their father. You
Mhm.
can't really, begin a whole relationship right after their father dies. That would be really traumatizing for them.
It would be. It would be. I think it'd be very traumatizing for Julie and especially Ethan to see Tabitha and Jade all of a sudden hooking up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Michael DJ says, yeah, yes, they'll get together. Golden Child says music can definitely make you remember things you totally forgot. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, sounds, sights, can kind of just trigger a repressed memory that you didn't even know you forgot. Like our
Mhm.
good friend Victor. We've seen that numerous times with him. Jade was always supportive of her. Yeah, he was. I mean, I feel like Jade
Mhm.
and Tabitha always had a good relationship. I mean, I feel like Tabitha was like the one person that could kind of rein Jade in a little bit, like especially during season 2. When they first started working together, it almost had that kind of mother son relationship, where a sense where Tabitha was kind of like the only one that could wrangle him up and kind of get him to kind of be normal. But I don't know, a romantic entanglement between those two. I don't know. I think the only possibility I see is what you said. If they both kind of fully remember their original reincarnations and how they were originally husband and wife, if they fully remember everything and those feelings start to come back, then maybe. But this iteration of Jade and Tabitha, as we left them at the end of season 3, I don't see it. But then again, they could. I imagine they're probably going to start remembering more, right? They have to. Now
Yeah.
that this is just the beginning, I imagine they're going to start remembering more. Remember that their original versions, even though, as Pam brings up, they share a child. I mean, technically,
Mhm.
kind of. I mean, this Jade and this Tabitha don't share a child, but their original reincarnations did share a child. So maybe those feelings could kind of, maybe they're dormant and maybe they will come to the surface now that they're remembering more of their past lives. I mean, I think it's possible. But who knows? Who knows? Weren't they already though? Not in this lifetime, of course, but still, yes, exactly. And in previous lifetimes, in previous iterations, they were married, or at least in the original version. And I guess that would be interesting to find
Mhm.
out if any of the previous reincarnations started to kind of have those feelings for one another. Like Miranda and Christopher, for instance, did they end up becoming something at some point?
Mhm.
Any of the previous Mirandas, the previous Tabithas, the previous Jades, did any of them kind of start to, find their way back to each other? Or is it just the original pair? I'm not sure. I am not
Mhm.
sure. But hopefully that's going to be some of the stuff that we're going to be finding out in season 4. And we're definitely going to be taking a look at some of these crazy, wild season 4 leaks that are, they're just hilarious to read. I mean, I don't think any of them are accurate personally, but it does make for a fun read, if nothing else. One of them in particular had me just in stitches laughing by the time I got to the end of it. It starts off sounding kind of plausible. And the closer the more you read it, the more you get to the end, it just starts getting increasingly more insane until like the last part of it is like, okay, this is nuts. This is not going to happen. But if it did, it would be fucking hilarious. So yeah, some of these season 4 leaks are, they're pretty funny, if nothing else. Again, I don't expect any of them to be accurate, but they are kind of funny to read, if nothing else. So we shall see. We shall see. But welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on this fine Sunday night. I almost said Saturday because we usually go on Saturday. Last night,
Mhm.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
not able to go. I was feeling a little under the weather yesterday, so I pushed it from yesterday to today. So my apologies for canceling last night, everybody. But I appreciate everyone for hanging out with us on this fine Sunday evening. Let's see who we got in here, shall we? Let's see who we got. We got Kiwi Skirt in the house. What is up, Kiwi? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Truth Martin in the building. Welcome, Truth Martin. Martin's another character I hope we see a little bit more of in season 4. I feel like the questions are only getting bigger when it comes to Martin. I almost thought we were closing the door on Martin after season 2. I wasn't
Mhm.
really expecting him to return, actually. I never thought we were ever going to find out who threw that rope. I thought that was going to be one of those kind of lingering, ambiguous things that they never answered. I was very surprised they even answered that in season 3. But when they
Yeah.
answered that, they just brought up even more questions about Martin. The fact that he recognized Julie and knew her name right away. Like now there's even more questions as to who the heck is Martin. So now he has to return. I feel like we have to see more Martin in season 4, no?
Yeah, and I was completely ready to accept that they wouldn't tell us who threw the rope
Yeah.
because being that it's from and it's a place that is supernatural, right? I
Yeah.
was completely okay with accepting maybe Martin has some sort of superpower where he himself threw the rope, even though he was chained up. Maybe he's not human, and obviously he wouldn't be if he has lived for so long,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That kind of tells me there's something going on. There's something supernatural. I also was surprised that they gave us the answer, but
Hmm.
now we also have to remember everybody was kind of zooming in on the picture of the body that was in the place where Kimono Lady takes Fatima. There's a body and it has a shirt
Yes.
that kind of looks like that could have been Martin's physical body.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that
Certainly got
tells
the beard
me
to match.
exactly, right?
Mm.
And we know that when you're in the dungeon, the people that were there were not actually physically there. They were
Yes.
in their beds.
Mm.
So to me, that means that's probably his body, and we're probably going to get to see more of his story.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they wouldn't really show us that that body was there before placing Fatima there.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I definitely think that makes sense. I think it could be a very, very strong possibility. After they introduced the whole story walking thing into the show, part of me started to wonder if this is why Martin knows some of the things that he maybe shouldn't know. Maybe Martin is a story
Yeah.
walker. Could that potentially explain why he knew about Boyd's wife when Boyd first saw her, when Boyd first sees him in season 2? And he's like, what if your wife was right? And then what if that's also how he knew and recognized Julie when she showed up? Maybe Martin himself is a story walker and he's seen all of this play out before. He knows everything that's going to happen, maybe. I think that could be a very interesting way to kind of tie it all together. And it would make sense, at least, to, explain why Martin knows the things that he knows if he himself is a story walker. And maybe Julie even goes back to him and tries to learn how to story walk
Mm.
through him. Maybe he mastered it a little bit better than she did, and he can kind of show her how to master her own abilities. I think that'd be a very interesting aspect if we saw this little kind of side story of Julie trying to learn her story walking through Martin. With Martin being her teacher. Another thing I always thought about Martin that could be interesting. Now that the kind of possibility of this kind of weird time travel story walking thing that has been introduced into the show, I imagine when Julie sees Martin at the end of season 3, for that Martin, for his timeline, I imagine he still has the worms inside of him. Could we see somebody else return to that place at some point before Martin gives Boyd the worms while he still has them and get access to these worms again to potentially kill another monster? I'm wondering. I just get the feeling
Mm.
these worms are going to come back into play, because if this time travel thing is being introduced, then at some point, someone, Julie in particular, might be able to visit Martin again before he meets Boyd while he still has the worms and get them from him, maybe. But then again, that would truly be changing something. That would 100% be changing the past.
Yeah.
Because if someone goes back and takes the worms from Martin, then they're not there for Boyd to get them later on. So it does present a little bit of a problem. And again, this is why I'm not the biggest fan of time travel being introduced into stories that isn't centered around time travel. It can become convoluted. So whatever they're doing with Julie story walking, I hope they have a really good plan for it.
I really like the idea of Martin being a story walker. I
Hmm.
had not heard that. So it fits this show perfectly because that is something that I had not heard before. It would make sense. The only hesitation, if I were Julie, would be you don't seem to be successful, right? So I want to learn from you, but you
Yes.
ended up in the dungeon.
You ended up
You
here.
ended up with worms. So that's the
You
only
ended up with worms
hesitation.
and in a dungeon and in tattered rags. He's in there in like his tidy whities at this point. Poor Marin, he's been just completely stripped bare, no dignity left. The poor guy.
Yeah, so I want to learn from you. I just,
I just
I
don't
don't
want to
know if
end
he's
up
an
like you.
I don't know if he's an inspiring story.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like that years later we're still coming up with things that are interesting and we haven't really thought about before.
Yeah.
The worms. So I was thinking, as you were talking about the worms, what would be the point, right? The fact that the monsters, are always are eternal and they can be reborn
Yes. Can't
if
just
they are
kill them.
killed,
Good point.
makes me think, what's the point, right? The vial seemed to be helpful and the worms seem to be helpful, but what would be the point at this time? If I was the monsters, I would just think like, I'll see you in a couple of months, like I'm gonna
I'll
come
see you in
back.
a few. Can't wait to see which one of you gets
However,
pregnant next.
exactly, right. However, that could still work like a talisman, because
Okay.
I'm guessing while they can come back, they probably don't want to go through the experience of dying. They all
Mhm.
saw how Smiley died. They gather around him and they saw that it wasn't a pleasant thing. So
Yeah.
maybe it would work like a talisman. As long as you have the vial, they would be more than likely to stay away from you.
Interesting. Interesting. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's super risky to attempt to kill another monster at this point after seeing what Boyd saw. It was, Harold Perrineau was asked recently during an interview. He was doing some kind of promotion thing for his new Sable bourbon that he's promoting now. And somebody asked him about From and how and they asked him how he thinks Boyd's going to react to seeing Smiley be reborn. And Harold Perrineau says, I imagine he's going to go and try and kill him again. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know about that. It could just be, him just saying that. But like you said, it's risky. It's incredibly risky to try and kill a monster now after what happened. I mean, if we kill another one, who's to say somebody else in the town just doesn't miraculously become pregnant again with another freaking monster baby? It's a risk. It's a big risk that I don't know if they'll want to, go down that road again. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. That's going to be very, very fun to see. How are they going to react to see Smiley back? Not just Boyd, but the rest of them as well. I mean, there were a good amount of people at the clinic when Boyd killed Smiley. Kenny, Christy, Marielle, Ellis, Elgin. There were a lot of people there. They all saw Smiley die. So now when they see him kind of up walking around again, I can only imagine what that reaction is going to be like. And if we're going to get any kind of interesting scenes between Boyd and Smiley, or Fatima and Smiley even. One of these leaks that we're going to talk about here in a little bit talks a little bit about Ellis in season 4. And it's so preposterous. It's definitely not true. I mean, I don't think there's much validity in any of these leaks, but they're kind of funny to read. But one of them states that Ellis is going to go to the caves in season 4 because he wants to see Smiley because he feels like Smiley's his son. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, okay, ridiculous. However,
it's my son. I have a right to see him. Is what the dialogue says in the freaking leak.
no. Yeah,
And
I
the
don't
cowboy
think so.
monster of all the monsters greets him at the cave and tells him to leave. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here.
I don't think so. Not if he knows that this is full blown like big Smiley. No, I don't see that happening. However, the last time that he saw Fatima, she was pregnant. The last time Fatima saw the egg, it was just an egg that Kimono had, and it was a small egg.
Mhm.
So Boyd can tell them, hey, the egg turned into Smiley. But as a parent, maybe because they will always wonder, I need to see it myself. I could see them saying, I need to see what the egg turned into. Like, I just
Mhm.
need to see it for myself,
Yeah.
even if that is Smiley. Even if Boy says, well, Smiley is back, that's what was inside Fatima. I could see them saying, I need to see it myself just so that I know that there was
Mm.
no baby.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I get that's a little more plausible. Yes. Like, I need to see for myself kind of how Boyd was at the end of season 3, where, Boyd, he couldn't help himself. He had to go down that cave. He had to follow the kimono creature because he just had to see what it was. He didn't want to get caught, off guard again. That definitely is a little bit more plausible than what was in this freaking leak. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? yeah, I feel like anyone seeing him walking around again will all but kill any morale they may have for winning
Yeah.
against monsters. It is going to be a big hit to their morale. I mean, especially Boyd's too. Like, that's one of Boyd's only wins that he's really gotten in a while. It's like, shit, we might be taking L's left and right, but I took out a fucking monster that they can be killed. That gave, I imagine that gave Boyd a little bit of hope to think maybe we can fight against these things. But now seeing that, yeah, big hit to the morale, without a doubt.
But also, I mean, the people that you mentioned that were in the room where it happened, were people that Boyd can get to cooperate with him and to keep their mouth shut. Elgin participated in the whole thing with Kimono. We know Kenny is his best friend. Fatima and Alice wouldn't want it getting out. Christy is very close to Boyd, and Meryl is Christy's fiance. So I think he could potentially just get them to not say anything about Smiley having been the child that resulted from Fatima's pregnancy,
Yeah,
right? And the cowboy monster, he went away for a little while. So the
he did.
people in the town, they wouldn't be suspicious that you see a monster, he goes away for a little while, then he's back. It wouldn't be out of the norm because they
Yeah.
don't see the same monsters all the
Mhm.
time. The nurse
Yeah.
monster, we know that they completely changed her,
I
but let's
know.
just say let's just
Exactly.
say for the story's sake
Yeah.
that as a townsperson, you just see that the monsters are coming and going. You're not
Yeah.
keeping track of how long they're missing.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're right. I think the only people that would even kind of bat an eye would be the people that were at the clinic. Everybody else, they'll just see a monster. They're not going to think twice about it. I think you're 100% right. And yeah, as Ty brings up, we never actually see Boyd get out of there. And that's one thing. Season 2 kind of ended in a similar manner where it wasn't Boyd, but it was Jade still down in the caves when season 2 ended, right after seeing the Ankui vision for the first time, the sacrifice of the children on the stones. And a lot of us were really hoping that season 3 would pick up with Jade still down there in those caves. But unfortunately, we got that time jump. It was only 3 days, but it was enough where the story didn't pick up right where it left off. And I know, we mentioned this a lot last week, but I do wonder how season 4 is going to go as well. Like, are we going to see a similar kind of time jump that's a few days or a week? Or is season 4 going to start off right where season 3 ended and Boyd's still down there, in those caves? I hope that's the case, but as you mentioned, I believe it was you that mentioned, we'll probably just get another kind of time jump where season 4 will start a few days later. And I have a feeling they'll probably play it that way. I hope they don't, but I get the feeling they will.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, right?
Mhm.
From I think they did such a good job with the time jump from Tabitha being pushed off the tower. It was satisfying enough. Well, we didn't get to see her wake up or anything. We got all of the information and it was interesting enough. So even if we don't get to see Boyd escape, I think it would still be, they will do it justice. He would probably tell us how he got out. We know that they don't attack Boyd. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not in that big of a predicament. He could just walk out.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and I wonder if at some point this is going to give Boyd, some overconfidence at points where he feels like he's not untouchable, but he feels like he knows they're not going to kill him. So it makes him a little more brazen in certain aspects. We had that storyline that unfortunately didn't really go anywhere in season 3. At the beginning of the season, we hear Boyd talk about how he wants to trap a monster. He wants to trap one and interrogate one. And then that storyline just completely fizzled out and went nowhere. I don't know if they're going to pick that back up in season 4, if that's still in the back of Boyd's mind, where he's still contemplating trapping one of these things and potentially maybe using one of the talismans to trap them. Which again, has been a long-running fan theory that we and many other channels have talked about for a long time. If the talismans can even be used in that manner to trap a monster, we know that they can keep them out of something, but can they keep them locked in something is a whole other matter. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if we're ever going to see the return of that storyline where Boyd kind of wants to continue to try and trap a monster. Because again, I mean, that was a very exciting storyline in season 3. A lot of people were wondering where it was going to go. I had a feeling it was going to go catastrophically wrong. I thought he would attempt it and it was going to go very wrong and someone was probably going to end up getting killed as a result. But yeah, it kind of just fizzled out and went nowhere. So who knows? Who knows?
I like the idea. When I heard about the idea of trapping a monster, I remember people coming up with very elaborate ways of how it could be done.
Yep.
But it made me think smarter, not harder. If the
Mm.
talismans can trap someone in a place, find out where the monsters live, what cave, and then put the talismans right outside the cave, right
Could that
outside the
work?
door. And
Could
then
that
they would
work?
never come out, right?
I mean,
I mean, why not?
you never know. You never know. And what's interesting about the talismans is, it doesn't seem like it needs to be a fully on enclosed structure for them to work, really. I mean, when Boyd was first finding them, there was nothing but a little bush in front of that opening, and that seemed to work
Yeah.
enough as a door where the monsters couldn't get in that hut. So, no, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe that's a possibility. They would have to make sure they cover every single exit of those cave systems, though. Who knows how fast they are, I guess, is the question. But I think it's definitely worth exploring if I was them, for sure. But yeah, let's see what some of you guys are saying before we dive into some of these ridiculous, insanely funny season 4 leaks. Welcome on, welcome all. So glad to see the Frumily in the chat. Welcome everybody. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday evening. Let's see what else we got. Jade and Tabitha had a connection more than with Jim. Interesting. I mean, they did have chemistry. I would say there was some chemistry there. Yeah, I think they had some chemistry. I mean, was it more of a connection than she had with Jim? I don't know, but they definitely had some chemistry for sure. For sure. What happened to Boyd's Parkinson's? He got better. He started to get better when he had the worms, but then in season 3, we see that the Parkinson's has returned. At the very beginning of season 3, episode 1, actually, the first episode of season 3, right before the monsters let the animals out of the barn and set that big trap for Boyd and Tien Chen. Right before that happens, we see Boyd and Jade in the sheriff's station, and Boyd is pouring a drink, and his hand is shaking like a dog shitting bones. Like he's really, really shaking again. And then again, later on at the end of that episode, we also see him, the second episode, actually, we see him shaking again when he's trying to bandage his arm. After he gets clawed by one of the monsters in the barn, he's trying to bandage his arm in the next episode, and he can't bandage his arm with his hand because his hands are shaking so much. He has to tie the whole thing like around his torso so he can wrap it over his arm because he's shaking so much. So unfortunately, it does look like the Parkinson's has returned. And then I think that's why Boyd even kind of reiterates to Kenny again in season 3 that he has a ticking time clock over him, that he's slowly trying to prepare Kenny to be able to take over one day because Boyd knows the Parkinson's is back.
Yeah, elegantly said, Jeremy. But it makes me think.
That's an old saying from my dad. That's an old saying that my dad used to say. Oh, you're shaking like a dog shitting bones.
It's just beautifully said, but it makes me think we don't actually know that, right? Christy had a consult with Boyd, and where Christy said this is not genetic. So even if your father had this, while you may be worried about that, it wouldn't be a genetic thing. It doesn't mean that you would have Parkinson's. And what we know is that he's shaking.
Yeah.
We know that from the forest, or the entity likes to create fear in people. And so maybe he's just experiencing shaking, and it might not mean that he's going to actually have Parkinson's. Maybe it's just, something that they're doing to him to mess with him, because they know it's one of his greatest fears.
It very well could be. I mean,
from praise upon your fear.
That's a very good point. That is a very good point. I mean, this fear seems to be a huge aspect of the show. And if they know that that's one of Boyd's fears, yeah, that I feel like that's totally something that they could potentially do to him, make him feel like he's got it as well. But who knows? I don't know. I think that's an interesting theory. Maybe he doesn't have it. Maybe it's all psychological, or maybe it's just Frumville screwing with him. I think that's very possible,
Yeah.
very big possibility. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Martin must have legs like Taoism from Street Fighter 2. Poor Martin. Poor Martin. Yeah, I hope we see him again. Yeah, father of the worms. Good old Martin. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, the curse or spell must be broken. I definitely feel like that's a big part of it. I mean, we've talked about, and I know a lot of people in the chat have had similar theories that it's definitely not going to be as simple as them just finding an exit and trouting on out. It's not going to be that simple. We saw what happened to Tabitha when she left. She got pulled right back in. They're not going to be able to just leave when they find an exit. There's something they need to do. And I do think whether it's, the curse or the spell or the loop, I get the feeling it's these loops that are happening over and over and over again. And I think that's kind of not confirmed, but I feel like we got more evidence of these loops happening with this whole reincarnation thing getting confirmed. It seems like Jade and Tabitha, the original Jade and Tabitha, are getting reincarnated every generation, and it kind of starts up new cycles inside Frumville. And we saw the boy in white try to help Christopher during the previous cycle, but Christopher, of course, rejected him, didn't trust him, and now that's why the boy in white is so hands off with this group. He's not helping them as much as he has in previous iterations. So yes, whether it's a spell, a curse, this loop that is stuck on repeat, they need to break it. They need to break whatever it is before they, find an exit and leave. Because if they leave, they'll probably just get pulled right back in like Tabitha did. So yes, they need to break the curse. Or as Ethan says in season 1, which I think was still huge foreshadowing for how the whole show is going to go, it's a quest. They need to complete the quest before they can leave. They have to accomplish something. And it seems like maybe saving the Onkui children might be that thing that breaks the loop.
Yeah, and we know that that's what it is, right? Because Tabitha tells us when she tells Jim, Jade and I had a child. One of them is our child, and we have been coming back, trying to save them. We couldn't save them, right?
Yeah.
So she tells us that is the purpose of the whole reincarnation loop. They are attempting to save their child, and to that end, last time that we talked about that specific loop of Jade and Tabitha, which is one that we know that there's a lot of other people, so we don't know if that's the only thing, the only goal. There's a lot of stuff going on so there might be multiple things going on at once. But for Tabitha and Jade, well, a lot of people were saying maybe they participated and so they have been condemned, and maybe they just backed out at the end. I tend to think we could look at it in another way. If you're a parent and you are not able to save your child, you wouldn't necessarily look at it as condemnation if somebody gave you a second or a third
chance.
or a fourth opportunity. Yes.
Yeah.
And so while you may think, oh, they're condemned to try again, it might be something that they asked for. Maybe the other people asked for immortality, and Tabitha and Jade asked for another opportunity to save their daughter, which any parent would. When you see parents experiencing child loss, a lot of the time there's that wish of, I just wish I could have done something. I wish I had a second chance. I wish I could fix this for my child. So in a way, when I think about it, I think it's fortunate to get to try again, right? And who wouldn't for their children? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I think that makes perfect sense. Well, it would be interesting because we're wondering how this whole immortality thing happened with monsters in the first place. And I still am a little bit in the camp of the man in yellow had a hand in this, that he might have orchestrated most of this. So that would be very interesting if the monsters are the way they are because of the man in yellow, but maybe the original Jade and Tabitha struck some kind of deal with the boy in white, so they could keep coming back and get reincarnated over and over again, so they could potentially have that chance to save their child. Maybe the parents made a deal with the man in yellow, and Jade and Tabitha, the original Jade and Tabitha, made a deal with the boy in white, to kind of have that opportunity. Because like you said, on first glance, just looking at it, super fast, you kind of get this, you could understand why some people might think that it is a curse. They're kind of cursed to be coming back, reincarnated generation after generation after generation. But maybe it's not a curse. Maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe it is something that they sought out. I think that's very possible. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want a Sarah backstory. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we know a little bit about Sarah's backstory. I mean, we know that she came from an abusive relationship. We know that she was in Pennsylvania when her brother came to pick her up and bring her back home to Boston. She seemed to be in an abusive relationship. She had a boyfriend that was abusive to her. And that's pretty much what we know about Sarah's backstory. I don't think we're going to get more than that, unfortunately. The writers of From, or John Griffin, the creator and writer of From, he has stated that they're not going to focus too much on the characters' backstories, who they were in the real world before they got here. It's all about moving the story forward. And I think that has to do with many different factors. I feel like if they had more episodes like Lost did, then they would have all the time in the world to very deeply explore all of these characters' backstories. But they don't have that time, unfortunately. They only have 10 episodes a season, where Lost had 20, 24. So I don't know how much time they're going to have to explore all of these characters' backstories. I think the minimal backstories we have on the characters is pretty much all we're going to get on them, except for Jade and Tabitha. I think Jade and Tabitha are the only ones that they're really going to explore their past, because they have to, because it's very vital to the story going forward. But some of these other characters like Sarah, Jade, like our human Jade, we know that he comes from a tech background. We know that he was a tech millionaire, stuff like that. Those kind of details, I get the feeling is all we're going to get on those kind of backgrounds. But I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I always like learning a little bit more about these characters, and getting some good character development and a good backstory always helps in that regard. I mean, we talked a little bit about this during Severance, where we got that really good episode when we saw Miss Cobell's backstory, and it added so much context to her character. Like, we totally understood why she is the way she is now after seeing that backstory. So while I would love to see that for some of these characters, it seems like the writers aren't going to be going in that direction, that they're going to be moving forward, with the exception of kind of exploring that original timeline with the parents. That's probably the only flashbacks I imagine we're going to get. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll learn a little bit more details about some of their surrounding stories, but I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. Let's see what else we got. I had seen a leak of Smiley Rebirth, and it looked so crazy. I thought it was fake. Yeah, I mean, I tried to avoid all of the leaks like the plague last year when those season 3 leaks came out about the finale. I did everything in my power to just avoid them like the plague, because I did not want to know what was coming. I hate knowing what's coming. It's why I don't accept early access for the show. I politely decline. I'm super honored that I even get considered, but it's reasons like that I don't want to get early access to the show. I love not knowing what's coming, because I feel like so many of the other shows that I watch, they're based on books or some other kind of source material that I'm usually very familiar with. So I kind of always know the gist of what's coming. And that's why I like From and Severance so much, because they're not based on anything. So I don't want to know anything that's coming ahead of time. But yeah, I tried so hard to avoid those freaking leaks. And I know a lot of people, unfortunately, saw them when they didn't want to. It sucks. I mean, you hate to see that kind of thing happen. But unfortunately, From is getting to the point now where it's a big enough show that it's just inevitable at this point. We're probably going to get leaks every season. And it's just a matter of trying to avoid them, I guess. I would be very surprised if we don't get any season 4 leaks once the season starts. I would be very surprised if we don't get.
Oh, you don't think that they're going to resolve what happened with last season? Because I remember the community was saying the leaks were coming probably from somebody who got early access. So my thought was we just have to make it through the season, and the show will catch on, and they will probably resolve this. They will resolve it by tracking maybe who they're giving access to, and there has to be a way, I'm sure.
Oh, there is. There 100% is. I don't know how MGM does it because I've never accepted early access from any MGM show, but I do get early access from HBO for House of the Dragon. And if you were to leak any of what you get, they can track it to you instantly. There's a QR code. It's embedded in every copy that they send out to anybody. So if I were to leak any of my video or anything from the early access episodes I get for House of the Dragon, they would instantly be able to track it right back to me. Now, I don't know how MGM does it, but if they don't do it that way, I suggest they start doing it that way for season 4. You got it. There's ways to make these things trackable, definitely, without a doubt.
Yeah. And the Smiley rebirth, I thought
It was
it was
big.
fake. I thought it was fake because it just seemed like so insane. I
Yeah.
do remember though, however, I do have to acknowledge I did have while I didn't see the leak, I
Mhm.
did have information. Real Enigmas said there's gonna be an egg and Smiley's gonna come out of the egg, and he had been
This sounds so
tracking eggs.
crazy. Sounds
I
so
know, but
crazy when you hear about it. Smiley's coming out of an egg. What? Get
yeah,
out of here.
but he had an egg theory, right? And he had been tracking eggs since season 1. This is back in season 1. He kept saying, it's these eggs, and there's gonna be an egg for the finale, right? And so I thought, hey, you know what? There might be an egg. And I
Never know.
remember seeing the egg, and I was like, oh my God, like the whole finale revolves around this egg. So he had been
Mm,
following the clue. So I did know that. I did know
mm.
that there was going to be an egg.
You
But
knew about the
yeah,
egg?
I mean,
Mm,
yeah, I knew about the egg.
yeah. Yeah, luckily, I just, for that whole last week, I just stayed completely away from social media in general. We did our streams, and I looked in the chat, and luckily everybody that hangs out here is always very respectful, and nobody was putting any of the leaks in our chats, thankfully. Um, so that's the only thing I can do. I just completely avoided social media like the plague for that last like week or 2 weeks, solely because I didn't want to see the leaks. Because again, from what everybody was just telling me, they're everywhere. These leaks are everywhere. They're in comment sections. They're on Twitter. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. They're on YouTube. They're everywhere. So I'm like, fuck, I got to stay away from everything if I don't want to see these leaks. And I was lucky enough to not see them. But yeah. It sucks. I mean, you hate to see that stuff happen. But unfortunately, From is just it's become one of those shows that is big enough, and it's one of those shows that has that mystery aspect to it. So naturally, people are always going to want to leak information. That's just the way of the internet. Unfortunately, sucks, but it is the age we live in. Maybe Fatima is a reincarnation, and that's why she was able to get pregnant. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. And that's another thing we've also wondered as well. We know that Jade and Tabitha are a reincarnation of their original selves. But what about the rest of the town? What about everybody else that's in Fromville right now? The Boyds, the Kennys, the Fatimas. Are they potentially reincarnations of other original members of the town as well? That's something we really don't know. I think it would be better if it's kind of only Tabitha and Jade that are reincarnated, as opposed to just everybody being reincarnated over and over again. But I do like the idea of similar character arcs returning every once in a while, like similar characters being brought in to fill similar roles as previous timelines. Not exact reincarnations, but people that fill a similar role, kind of. But yeah, who knows? We have no idea in terms of if there are other reincarnations out there, but I'm meant we'll find out at some point. Yeah. Ellis, go get your son, he's out there tripping. Yeah, again, when I saw that leak, it made me, I laughed out loud. I was alone. I was alone, and I just laughed out loud. It was just so funny reading it, that Ellis, the idea of Ellis going to these caves in season 4 and demanding to see Smiley because he thinks it's his son. Like, it's just so crazy. But funny nonetheless. Very funny. What is up, Xavier? Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Welcome, Chels. Good to see you as well. Admiral Wackass in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Trapping a monster or a bunch of monsters would be a good reversal of the barn scene and could prompt another Man in Yellow appearance. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. The Man in Yellow is still a massive question mark in terms of, who he's going to be on the show. Is he going to be the main villain? Is he something else entirely? We have no idea. But yeah, if they were to trap a bunch of monsters, could that be a big enough event where there is some consequences? Because we've seen that theme play out in Fromville many times, where when the survivors, try a little too hard to escape or try a little too hard to find out information, sometimes this place pushes back and there's consequences, whether it's the storm, the rotten food, all, the winter. This place kind of pushes back if they try too hard to find answers. So yes, if they trap a monster or multiple monsters, could that be another one of those events that brings some kind of negative side effect to the town, as a punishment of sorts, maybe? Could be. Yeah, what happened to the drone? Yeah, I mean, we talked. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened to the drone. We know the radio attached to the drone got broken, but Jim seemed very confident that he'd be able to fix it if he wanted to. It didn't seem like it was like a catastrophic thing. But yeah, I imagine the drone's still there. I mean, I imagine it has to be still there. Randall probably has it, I would imagine. Who knows if we'll see it come into play or not? I'm not sure. I am not sure. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, don't forget about the canoes and the cabins. Yeah, that was one thing that was a little bit disappointing in season 3, that we didn't really get more of a resolution to really any of that. Like, not even the tapping. I mean, like, we're hearing all this tapping on these cabins and as Ravener dubbed it, Cannibal Village. We didn't really get an answer to that, unfortunately. I was hoping we were going to. But I imagine they'll explore that more in season 4. But yes, there's still so many question marks surrounding that whole new ruined settlement that they find in season 3. Who built these totems? What are these totems for? Are they another form of talisman to keep out evil? And did Jade screw everything up by taking one of them down? So many questions. And yeah, who the heck was tapping on these cabins? And not only that, what exactly was that crazy thing that young Tabitha saw in her dream? The memory that she's having of being in Fromville near those big 3 stones, those red stones, the red painted stones. We still have no idea what that is as well. So there's a lot of weird, funky stuff that's happening in that ruined village that they definitely need to kind of dive into a little bit more on in season 4.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so Cannibal Village, I know that it took off. I know you guys started saying that, and then everybody was saying Cannibal Village, but it was because you believed that the people that lived there were cannibals, right? That they were going to
Yes.
eat
Is the guy
the
drinking out
visitors.
of the humans, the one
Oh,
vision
okay.
that Jade sees of the man sipping the human blood out of the skull kind of gave you that cannibalistic vibe, I guess, which makes sense, I guess. Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
But yeah, we got to learn a little bit more about that whole place. Still so many question marks.
Yeah.
And again, I love the theory. I love the theory in season 3 that I apologize. I forget who said it first. Somebody in our chat brought it up. And I'm so sorry. I forgot who it was. But I love the theory that just made me laugh just thinking that this is a possibility that Jim and Kenny stumble upon this cannibal village and all this food that they're stealing belongs to Eloise. That this is all Eloise's food that they're fucking stealing. And she's like tapping on the freaking cabins at night to fuck with them. Like, you want to steal my food, fuckers? Okay. That was funny. I thought it was a funny one. Who knows? But Eloise is still a massive question mark as well. I know some people think she's dead. Some people think she's still around. But there is one of the season 4 leaks that we're going to look at here in a little bit that points to that describes Eloise appearing and like saving Sarah in some weird manner. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on Eloise as to whether or not she's alive or dead. I feel like they're leaving it purposely ambiguous at times. Especially at the end of season 3 when Victor talks about he thinks he buried her remains, but they were too small, so we couldn't tell. I feel like they're leaving that door open for the possibility of Eloise maybe still being alive. She'd be a lot older right now, but I feel like they're leaving it ambiguous intentionally because they're going to bring her back at some point. I feel like if they don't bring Eloise back, that's going to be a huge disappointment. The way that they've set up that character and built that character up, if Eloise is dead and she has been dead this whole time, that's going to be a massive disappointment, just for me personally.
Yeah, I think for everybody at this point, because it has become one of the top questions that the family has.
Yeah.
Um, where is Eloise? Who is Eloise? And who is Martin? And also, we can't forget that the person that gives us all of the information regarding Eloise is the person that we least trust and from, Victor. Because
Yes.
of his severe trauma, Victor misremembers things constantly, all the time. He
Yeah.
will tell you a story and then change the story and add people, remove people. He didn't even remember he had a sister. So I don't trust him to remember that he buried her to begin with because he didn't even remember she existed. So that could be him maybe misremembering. We know that there was a big chunk of time that he was alone and he somehow survived.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, Victor is one of those characters that's still just widely, unexplored. There's so much about his history here in Fromville that we still just don't know anything about. And again, I imagine they'll continue to unveil a little bit more each season about Victor's time here and what potentially happened. How long was he alone here in this place before the next generation of people started coming? Yeah, I don't know. We got to learn a little bit more about Victor. But again, it's hard to kind of trust anything he says now after him being very much, he's the George R. R. Martin of unreliable narrators at this point. So, yeah, it's hard to, know exactly if Victor, if even he knows if he's telling the truth, because even he thought that this freaking doll was talking to him when really it was the boy in white the whole time. So, yeah, it's hard to know. It is hard to know, but I guess we'll find out. How did Fromville know about Jim's fear of getting his throat ripped out by an old homeless man in yellow? I imagine that's probably a fear everybody has. No, I mean, who doesn't have the fear of this old homeless man ripping out your throat in the middle of the woods? I mean, that's one of my fears. I have nightmares about that all the time. Everybody doesn't. That's not everybody.
but I mean, of course, every night. But they did know. I think that was just an added bonus, right? The fact that he told him, stop looking for answers, get in Tabitha's way. Because I do believe that the reason why he told him, Jim, your wife shouldn't be digging that hole, was to prey upon this control, this need for control that Jim had over his wife. You tell him that, and he already is a controlling husband. Therefore, it makes him even more controlling, thinking he's helping or protecting her. And the greatest fear that Jim ever had was losing Tabitha.
Yeah.
The other greatest fear would have been to Jade, because he hated Jade. He couldn't stand Jade. They had this whole fight at the bar, right? We get that bar fight, which I loved. And that fear came true. It came true right before his throat got ripped off. Where he bends down in such pain where he can't even breathe. He can't even breathe because he realizes that he has lost Tabitha to Jade. They're soulmates. She might be the love of his life, but the love of her life is Jade. She has been reincarnating with him. They have a child together. It's not just the soulmate part of it, but they also have a family. And we know that to Jim, family is very important. The family that he created with Tabitha. And now even that in itself is not special. It's so sad.
I know. I mean, I felt so bad for Jim at the end of the season. I know Jim's not a huge fan favorite and totally understand. The guy's definitely got his flaws. But yeah, I mean, I felt so bad for Jim in that whole scene, the way that scene plays out where you have Jim and Tabitha having this kind of conversation and Jim's kind of begging her, tell me what's happening. What's going on here? He sees that something really big just happened, but he doesn't understand it because he didn't feel what Jade and Tabitha felt. So he's in the dark. And then, yeah, you see the look on his face, this look right here, that look of just defeat. And then you get that one little flash of Jim and Tabitha in the RV. And you hear Jim talking to Tabitha saying, you remember what it was like before all this, like when our life was normal? And you just felt so bad for him in that moment. At least I did anyway. I felt super bad for Jim in the finale because I never hated Jim personally. I know he's not a big favorite. But I've always liked Jim. I mean, yes, he has his flaws, but I've always liked the character of Jim. And I always thought he was going to play a very important role at some point. And I guess he's not going to now. But I always liked Jim. And I feel like he really kind of turned the corner during those last 2 or 3 episodes of season 3, where he started to evolve a little bit. We saw a lot of character growth from him. And like you said, a lot of it was due to that conversation he had with Henry in the bar, where Henry kind of is telling him like, hey, just shut the fuck up and listen to your wife. Stop looking at her as something that needs to be fixed. And Jim needed to hear that. He needed to hear that from Henry because Henry has gone down this path. Henry's gone down the exact same path that Jim is now going down. He went through all of that years ago with Miranda. And he's seeing Jim making the same mistakes he made. And he gives him that much needed talk. And luckily, Jim is receptive to it. And we really see him turn a corner and start to become very receptive to Tabitha and the answers that she's seeking. But then again, we also see him become like super calm with Randall as well. You get that really good scene between Jim and Randall, where if that was season 1 Jim, I imagine he would have stormed in there and been super pissed at Randall for being with his daughter alone in the woods. But here we have Jim coming up to Randall, just simply wanting to have a conversation and asking him, hey, Julie's not talking to me. She's not telling me what's going on. I thought you could give me some kind of context because you've been through what she's been through. And again, that just showed so much growth on Jim as a character. He never would have had that conversation with Randall if this was season 1 or even season 2. So yeah, you see this great character development, and then boom, that's usually an indication that this character is going to get killed off when they get some really good scenes like that. And lo and behold, he did.
Yeah. And it's such a sad story, but that's why I love From, because while you're getting a story about monsters, sci-fi, horror, you're also getting a story of human trauma. Every
Yeah.
single one of our characters shows you the type of trauma that goes on in the everyday world.
Yeah.
Like Sarah with her abusive relationship and what they have experienced in their marriage, the loss of a child,
Yeah.
the toll that takes on a marriage. And they were very honest about the relationship between Jim and Tabitha, mirroring what actually happens in relationships like that and marriages, where it's super unfair, I thought. However, it is true. Tabitha, well, she was 50% responsible for the death of their child, Thomas. She tells Jim, every time I look at you, I can hear that phone call, the phone ringing,
Mhm.
right? As a way of telling him, I blame you. Like when I look at you, I think about what you didn't do. You picked up the phone, you didn't take care of our child. She doesn't think about the fact that she was also right there,
Yeah.
that she also could have been the one to save her child. And it's a little bit unfair to blame Jim and to tell him, I just see your mistake. And
Yeah.
I kind of blame the death of our child solely on you. That's
Yeah.
kind of the sense that you get when you tell somebody, every time I look at you, this is all I see. And
Mhm.
while he wasn't the perfect husband, Jim loved Tabitha and he
Yeah.
loved his family. He wasn't the perfect father. He was so focused on priorities of, I'll keep my wife and then that keeps my family. But if
Yeah.
I lose the wife, then the family's going to fall apart, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So he was focused on that. But we do see that he was dedicated to his family and his children when he tells us a little bit of his backstory. We get a little bit of Jim's backstory at the bar when he confesses that his father had an alcohol issue. And he decided when Julie was born that he wouldn't be the same, that he
Yeah.
would provide his children with a different father. So
Mm.
you do see that there are aspects of Jim that are very good, right? He's good
Yeah.
nature in a way. But I could see also why people didn't like him. Control can come off as annoying and borderline abusive. So I do understand that.
Yeah, he had his flaws. I mean, there is no doubting that. He definitely had his flaws for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, And I know there's some people who think Jim's going to come back at some point. And
Mhm.
I suppose anything's possible, really, especially now that they're introducing this whole story walking, quote unquote, potential time travel aspect from Julie. They've really kicked the door open for almost anything to be possible now, which is a little scary a bit. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Jim is going to appear at some other point, and either during a story walking, trip or something else. We did hear some of the creators and actors talk about how they're going to miss working with Ian Bailey, going forward. So that did kind of indicate like he was gone for good. But you never know what's going to happen with this show. You just don't. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know it. You never know. You never know. All right, let's see what else we got before we dive into some of these season 4 crazy leaks that we're going to have a good laugh at. Eloise might story walk into her future or present day Fromville. And that's another good question in and of itself, Nick. Yeah, I mean, if Eloise is still alive, could she potentially be a story walker as well? Who knows? Who knows? I feel like it's possible. I feel like it's definitely possible at this point. I like the idea of Martin being a story walker. I mean, I don't think Eloise needs to be a story walker for her to be a very interesting character. I feel like she's already interesting in and of herself. If she has survived all of this time, I don't think she needs to be a story walker. Martin, though, would be very interesting if he was a story walker, because again, it would explain a lot of how he knew what he knew in season 2. He knows Boyd's wife's name. He knows that, he knows the theory that Boyd's wife had about this place. What if your wife was right? What if it's all just a dream? He knows Julie, recognizes Julie when she pops up in season 3. I feel like it would make a little bit more sense if Martin was a story walker. And one thing I don't want to see, though, is a bunch of characters just all of a sudden becoming story walkers. Martin, Eloise, Julie. I feel like 3 is way too many. 2 story walkers, I can understand. I feel like that would make sense. But any more than 2, I feel like would be just a little bit too much. I don't want to see a bunch of story walkers on the show. Julie and Martin, I feel like would be the best pairing for them two to be story walkers.
Yeah, and I like your idea of having sort of like a sensei, somebody that's
Yeah,
teaching her this is
just a
how you do
Miyagi
it.
story walker. Yeah.
It would come full circle, being that he's the one that says, "Hey, Julie, throw the rope." So they already have that connection of you kind of get that he knows her. He was comfortable with her. Um, he doesn't really scare her. She does it,
Mhm.
right? She doesn't run away from him. So
Mhm.
I think it's very fitting. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I like it. I do like the idea of Julie returning to those ruins and returning to Martin to try and learn a little bit more about her abilities, to try and get a handle on this so she can master story walking. And if Martin is a story walker and he has been for one for a very long time, then maybe that's why they locked him up there in the first place. Maybe this is one of the places he can't leave and story walk out of. Maybe that's why he had the worms in the first place, to keep him grounded in some way. I don't know. For some reason, I just like the idea of Martin being a story walker. And again, I think it would make sense, at least in terms of answering how he knew what he knew. Knowing Julie when she shows up, knowing about Boyd's wife and all of that. That would make sense if Martin was a story walker, because you definitely get the sense that Martin knows a lot. Like I get the feeling it's not one of these instances where he only knows Julie and only knows Boyd's wife. If he knows those details, he must know a lot of details about this time period and about these people that are in Fromville right now. So I imagine there's a ton else that Martin probably does know. And again, that would make sense if he was a story walker, but I don't know. I guess we shall see. But yeah, let's dive into these crazy leaks, ladies and gents. Let's see all this nuttiness that we're going to look at. And again, I personally, I don't think any of these leaks are valid. I think they're all completely bogus. But they're fun to laugh at, if nothing else. And would love to hear everybody's opinions on some of these crazy, crazy leaks. I mean, look at the drip on Milchick, though. I gotta point that out. Look at the drip on
Ooh.
Milchick, right, dude?
Is that real?
Yes, that's yeah. He showed up at the 2025 Met Gala like this, fucking dripping. The drip
His
on
hair.
Right?
I already have a theory about this outfit. His hair is severed. His hair is severed, his outfit is severed. So he's trying to send us a message.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious when I saw this the other day. I'm like, of course, Billy. You know, it's kind of like, you know, band attire too, like with the way that this is kind of draped down, like little callback to his band segment in season 2 of Severance. Yeah, you gotta love Milchick. I can't wait for Severance to return too. That's another show that I cannot wait to return. But all right, let's dive into some of these crazy leaks, ladies and gents, starting with, again, I don't know which one's the craziest. I feel like they're all incredibly crazy, but we shall see. We shall see. This one comes, season 4 leak, spoiler alert. I actually work at From and just found out that the first episode of season 4 will be based around Kenny's downward spiral after everything he's been through. Both parents dying, not getting the girl. The season will start with him sweaty, shaking, and shivering on his bed after his loose leaf tea supply runs out. Please don't tell anyone at From I'm leaking this because I can't afford to lose my custodian job. I mean, I like the creativity, if nothing else. This is absolutely fucking hilarious that this person even posted this. But in terms of real or fake when it comes to this one, I gotta say,
of course, that's a fugazi. All right?
That's a fugazi? How do you know it's a fugazi? He says it's a fugazi.
What's a fugazi?
The diamond's a fugazi.
No, what is a fugazi?
Right? It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is?
No, fugazi. It's a fake.
Yeah, fugazi. It's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
Right?
All right? Stay with me.
Yeah, I'm putting this one in the firm fugazi pile. But what about you, PM? And of course, sound off in the chat as well. I mean, bogus, right?
I was kind of with it until it says about his
tea supply.
What is that? A weed?
Maybe. Well, Kenny doesn't smoke. We know Kenny doesn't smoke.
And I've never seen him drink this tea that they're talking about.
He's talked about it. We don't see him drinking it, but we hear him offer Acosta tea when she arrives in the diner. He says, "You want some tea?" And I imagine it's probably something Tien Chen used to make.
But why shaking? Why shaking and shivering unless it's some sort of like drug-infused tea, right?
Yeah.
I can see him going into maybe a little bit of a spiral, being that he moved into Colony House, right? Like, we know Tien Chen didn't like Colony House. And he chooses to, he's like, well, my mom is gone, my dad is gone, so now I can go and party with the people at Colony House. So something like that. But he's not one to spiral. He's too responsible for that. A sense of responsibility and duty is just part of who Kenny is. That's who he is as a character, as a person. So he's not one to have spirals in this manner, I would say. So yeah, no, it's a fugazi.
Fugazi, yes. Fugazi, same thing. Tomato, fugazi. Yeah, I definitely think this is a fake one. 100% fake. And yeah, I mean, if it was a custodian, why would they specifically lose their job unless it was another employee who wants the custodian fired? I mean, yeah, like how would anyone ever trace this back to some random custodian that works on the From set? It's preposterous. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, this one 100% fugazi leak. Fugazi. All right, let's see what we got next. Now, this one is a bunch all kind of wrapped into one. And this was the one that really kind of made me laugh my ass off by the time I got to the bottom of it. So yeah, let's take a look at this one. Starts off with season 4 leaks just dropped. The kimono lady is the Man in Yellow's daughter. She was seen in episode 4 in the motel saying, "Father, you didn't need to do this." I must have missed that scene. I did not see that scene personally. But the kimono lady being the Man in Yellow's daughter, I mean, the kimono lady's Japanese. She's straight up Japanese, like 100% Japanese, and the Man in Yellow is not. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this one?
I mean, right? Anything can be possible. I just doubt it. I doubt that she is his daughter. Um, and then they're wonderful writers. The line wouldn't be, "Father, you didn't need to do this." That's very basic. That's very. It just doesn't seem like the thing. Why are they living in the motel? We haven't seen the motel.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just like so many things would have to happen. The hotel has to be back. They're going through a hard time. They're living in a motel. She's living with her dad, who's the man in yellow. I just don't think so.
No.
No.
Crazy, crazy Fugazi, crazy Fugazi. This was the only one that I kind of liked in this whole kind of list. Tilly comes back and is seen dancing under the rain once again. That would be kind of cool to see. That's like the only one. I don't think it's true. I think it's definitely fake. But this is one that I think would be kind of cool to see if all of a sudden you just saw Tilly back in season 4 dancing under the rain again, because there's already been so much sus around Tilly to begin with. Who is she? Is she a little bit more than she's letting on? And this could be an interesting way to kind of bring that back into the fold. But I don't think it's true. But this was one of the ones that I thought would be kind of cool if we did see Tilly just return in season 4. But I doubt it.
I'm a Tilly hater. I've always been. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, chat. I know you guys like Tilly. I'm a Tilly hater. I wouldn't want to see her come back. I didn't think that her character was that interesting. Yeah, she's the one that did the tarot spread, but then she never followed up.
Yeah.
So she did a couple of weird things, and then at the end was not that interesting. She just seemed super nosy, weird, yes, because she was in a town full of monsters. But her first instinct was, I'm a chismosa. I need to go around learning everybody's business and like
Yeah.
exactly what I'm doing. She was not bothered by the monsters, so there was a lot of sus. But I didn't find her interesting enough for me to want to see her again.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I feel like the Tilly chapter is closed now. I feel like there's really no reason to open that chapter back up again. Again, it was kind of funny when all of this wild theory started popping up around her about her being sus, fanny pack granny, and all the crazy stuff she might have in that fanny pack. It was funny to kind of meme on, but in terms of like serious theories, no, yeah, hashtag Fannygate. Fannygate is back. But no, for me, this one is also a Fugazi. Elgin makes a pact with the monsters and tries to kill Sarah. Elgin wants his revenge, I guess. This one is kind of funny, but I kind of lean a little bit more in your direction, which you mentioned the other day on our previous From stream, that I don't think Elgin's going to hold any kind of grudge against Sarah in season 4. If anything, I get the feeling Elgin might come around to the idea of him being thankful that he might realize that he was going down a very wrong, dark path, that this kimono creature wasn't an angel, that he was being manipulated, especially after Boyd and the rest of them maybe explained to him what this kimono creature was really doing the whole time, birthing a monster. So I have a feeling once Elgin finds that out, I don't know. I don't feel like he's the revenge type either. Like he just doesn't seem that type. I get the feeling your idea is probably more right, that Elgin might come to maybe even thank Sarah for saving him, really. Took his eye.
And I mean, right? But when somebody is religious, what is an eye to your soul? Elgin is a very religious person. So what is an eye to me if you save my soul?
Yeah.
He might find more comfort in the fact that he didn't go through, or he doesn't have to feel so guilty about Fatima passing away because of what he did, never being found. And even if they don't tell him, he will see it. He will see that promises were made. They promised him everybody would get to go home, and he's going to wake up the next day and he's not going to be home. The baby would have been born, Smiley is going to be out, and the promises that they made are never going to come to fruition. So he's going to see it himself, that he was deceived. As far as him trying to kill Sarah, my poor Sarah, like, leave Sarah alone. Leave Sarah alone.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to band together and they're going to move into the church together.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. I mean, they were starting to, as you mentioned too, like they were starting to kind of like each other a little bit when they first met each other. And then, of course, Sarah talks about how she killed her brother, and Elgin gets the fuck out of there. But yeah, who knows? Maybe they can find their way back to each other. But yeah, let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, Tilly's character was gimmick to me and or underutilized. Yeah, I think she was a little gimmicky. I think that was the whole point of her. I feel like she a little red herringy and a little bit gimmicky. I feel like that was the point of her character overall. I don't think she was ever meant to go anywhere else. The best we'll get out of Tilly is the name Fanny Pack Granny. I think that's the best contribution she's going to have to the show overall. Fanny Pack Granny.
But wait, Fanny Gate. Yes, Fanny Gate. The fanny pack was not on her body when they discover the corpse.
When she got
we
killed.
don't know what was in exactly.
Yeah.
So we still have to find out what was inside the fanny pack because as we do, the family focused in on Tilly's body. No fanny pack was inside. Somebody took it.
There's a rogue fanny pack out there, or a fanny theft out there. There's a fanny thief. Fanny Gate is real. Fanny Gate is real, guys. Yeah, what else is in that fanny pack? Who fucking knows what else is in that fanny pack? I kind of think of the fanny pack, and I know my Doctor Who fans will get this reference. I kind of think of the fanny pack as the TARDIS. It's a lot bigger on the inside. It might look like this small fanny pack, but there's a whole world in there yet to be discovered. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah, only Fanny. Only Fanny. Yeah, I just got an Only Fanny account. Oh, jeez. Tilly is the.
What is that? There's pictures of Fanny.
What's that? I know it's just pictures of fanny packs.
A fanny pack.
The fanny pack OnlyFans account, maybe. Only Fanny. Yeah. Shit. Tilly is the monster's intern. She didn't get the job. Yeah, she didn't get the job. She failed. She failed her residency. That's for sure. Well, Tilly is the most likely reincarnated original member. Ooh, interesting, Xavier. Interesting. Yeah, could Fanny Pack Granny have been some kind of reincarnated character? I don't know. I wasn't a Tilly fan either. She was just to make our brains scatter. Again, yeah, I do think that was kind of the only point of her character, to be a little bit gimmicky, a little bit annoying, a little bit kind of, I think they wanted her to be a little bit suspicious. I think they wanted her to come across that way to the audience, probably so we would have these kind of, thoughts or theories as to whether or not she's more than she appears. But at the end of the day, I don't think she's anything. I think Fanny Pack Granny is gone. Absolutely.
And she's, she's a chismosa in Spanish. Nosy. It's nosy, but like a nosy person that has fun with it, right? And if you think about it, we're kind of chismosos. If I wasn't from, I would be terrified of the monsters, but I also would be like, hey, Kenny, what's going on with this love triangle? I would want to know everybody's business. So we can't really judge her. I probably would do the same.
Maybe she was the you got to have the town gossip, right? You got to have that one who's always looking for the drama. Absolutely. The drama. Susie says, I don't know. I think he's going to be a weird villain. And I think that's a possibility as well in terms of Elgin. I think you mean. I think that's a possibility as well. I mean, part of me thinks Elgin's going to realize the error of his ways. But who knows? Maybe losing his eye is going to kind of send him even further off the deep end. I think that's possible, at least. Yeah, who knows? Maybe he dulls down and becomes even crazier. I think that's possible. Yeah, an angel with a stooge. The eye is traded for knowledge. It's like the apple in Eden. Yeah, well, and the eye being traded for knowledge is very akin to Odin, the Allfather, and how he kind of sacrifices his eye to gain knowledge. Very similar. All right, let's see what else. We only got a few more on Elgin. Elgin becomes a sage, figuring them out because he doesn't want to be had again. People view him as sketchy. People don't trust but should. Very similar to a Sarah. I feel like that's very similar to how Sarah is right now. Nobody trusts her, but you should. I think people should trust Sarah because I think now she's gotten over the point where she can't be manipulated anymore by these voices. That part's done. Sarah has realized the error of her ways. And she's such a valuable asset. Sarah is the only character that can communicate with these entities, with these spirits, with who knows what else. So Sarah's an incredibly vital character, and I kind of view her very similar to this as well, where people think she's crazy, they don't trust her, but she's very vital and going to be valuable, I think, for sure. For sure. Elgin turns to Sarah. Believe it or not, this wasn't my worst first date. Man, if that's not the worst first date, I shudder to think what the worst first date was in Elgin's case. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I think when it comes to all three of these, whether it's the Tilly coming back and dancing under the rain once again, while funny that it might be, definitely no, I definitely don't think it's real. And when it comes to Elgin making a pact with the monsters to kill Sarah, I'm saying,
Because that's a fugazi. All right?
That's a fugazi? How do you know it's a fugazi? He says it's a fugazi.
What's a fugazi?
The diamonds are fugazi.
No. What is a fugazi?
It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is?
No. Fugazi, it's a fake.
Yeah, fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
Right.
All right. Stay with me.
stay with me. Stay with me. All right, let's see a little bit more here. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy and a little bit interesting. Next one we have here is Sarah runs to the cabin in the woods and meets old woman Eloise, who helps her find a safe spot. Now, I imagine this one is piggybacking off of this one, where Elgin makes a pact with the monsters to kill Sarah, and Sarah has to run to the cabins in the woods and meets old woman Eloise, who helps her find a safe spot. Those two kind of go hand in hand. But again, I don't see much validity in this. I think it's an interesting one. Again, some of these leaks are creative. I don't think any of them are real. But yeah, in terms of Sarah running into the woods and meeting an old woman, Eloise, who just kind of randomly helps her find a safe spot, I don't know about that one. Don't know about that one. What do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And we have evidence for this. Very creative, though. Everybody's so creative. We have evidence. Sarah, while she is, messed up, and some people might say, borderline a psychopath, depending on your opinion of her, she is not a coward. When she has done these horrible things, she never runs. She never pleads for herself. She never says, please don't put me in the box. As a matter of fact, she asked Boyd, hey, I helped you out. We did this. Now go put me in the box. And Boyd refuses. He says, do you want to do that? Because you can't deal with it. You can't handle what you did. And she says, just give me a talisman. I'll go into the woods. And Boyd once again refuses and says, I can help you with your guilt, but I'm not putting you in the box, and I'm not letting you go into the woods. So she's not a quitter. She doesn't run from the consequences of her actions. The person that wants Sarah dead the most is Sarah. Yeah. She would go into the box willingly. She totally would. So that's why I don't think she would run. She's not one to run.
No, I don't think she's one to run from anything. Sarah's a certified freaking badass at this point. The only one who can kill Sarah is Sarah. I 100% agree with you. And we saw she almost tried to take her own life. When her and Kenny were in the sheriff's station, and she puts the gun to her head.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't see Sarah running from Elgin of all people. I don't know. Just be. Where are my comments not showing? I see your comments, unless there were some before this that didn't show up, but I can see your comments. But if you have something specific, definitely throw it in the comment section again, and we will definitely talk about it 100%. Because I see you. You are here. You are here. Sarah. Yeah, I don't think she's running from anybody. Sarah can talk, but Fatima maybe can eavesdrop on the monsters too. Yeah, Fatima, I would be very surprised at this point, and we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I'd be super surprised if there isn't some kind of latent connection between Sarah and Smiley. I mean, we know that when Sarah was giving birth to this Smiley pod, she somehow got access to his memories and found out his origin, that how he became a monster. So yeah, I would be super surprised if there isn't some kind of latent connection still lingering between Fatima and Smiley. I get the feeling those two are connected in some way still, and they will remain connected in some way until one of them dies.
Yeah, and we know this because when she related the information, she said she was shown the information. Obviously, there was no conversation between her and the pod, but
Mhm.
she just knew. She saw everything that happened.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if she has more information just with that experience of giving birth to the pod.
Mm. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we only hear her telling, Boyd and Ellis about the monster's origins, and then it kind of completely then the scene shifts to Boyd going down to the caves, and we don't see Fatima again at that point. She could have been rattling off more stuff to Ellis and Kenny for all we know. So no, I think I think there's a strong possibility that Fatima is going to have some kind of connection to Smiley. I think, and maybe that's something they can utilize where she can find out some more information. I could totally see that being the case. If Elgin gets prompted to off Sarah, he would have to figure out how to tell her without them knowing. Yeah, I mean that's a good possibility as well. Yeah, again, I don't think Elgin's going to have any. I don't think he's going to have any want for revenge when it comes to Sarah. I truly don't. Again, could be very wrong, but I don't see Elgin being the vengeful type and wanting revenge on Sarah for what she did. I think your idea is a lot more in line with what I think is going to happen. That he might even be thankful to her. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, but what about Sarah giving out kisses of death? She's a psychopathic killer. I mean, you bring up a point, Golden Child. You do bring up a very good point. Sarah didn't just kill Toby. She straight up kissed him before she killed him. Like, super creepy, super weird. So I guess you can't overlook that.
Mhm.
I guess you can't overlook that. Very, very true.
Golden Child. We need to move past it. No, I'm just kidding. But so I get it. That was morbid.
Yeah.
And, I don't disagree. I could see why you guys don't like her and what you guys think. The fact that she has done the violent things that she has done tell us there's something wrong with her. And we
Yeah.
know that she has experienced violence in the past. And
Yes.
so she's definitely not a normal, well-adjusted girl. Okay, so I will give you that. However, I was thinking about this kiss because it's very controversial. Why did she kiss him? They
Mhm.
told her kill him. She didn't have to kiss him. However, I'm
Yeah.
thinking I could spin this. Okay, I'm her lawyer. She kissed him because she wanted to provide a comfort before she killed him. She
Before
felt
killing him.
so bad.
Hmm.
Yeah, felt so bad about killing him that she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I have to kill you. This is not your fault. Gave him a comforting kiss and then
Yeah.
killed him. Okay. So maybe it was that sort of thing where,
Hmm.
and you see people do that where people are about to do something, but they'll give the person a kiss on the forehead, whatever. She chose the mouth.
Yeah.
She wanted to provide a comfort to him.
Yeah. Yeah, a little kiss before she slides the dagger into his heart, as it were. Yeah, I think that's a total possibility. Kind of put him at ease and give him like a little pleasant last thing before he gets offed. Yeah, I could see that being a possibility. It's a believable spin, if nothing else, I would say. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there for sure. And yeah, I'm right there with you, Ronnie Martin. I completely missed this show too. I cannot wait for From to come back. Luckily, we're getting to the point now where From is going to start filming anytime now. From what I've heard from my sources, From is going to start filming as early as next month. We know that they're already building new sets for season 4. We talked about that a little bit on our last week's stream. We actually have a picture of one of the newest sets that they're building right now for From season 4 that one of the actresses on From posted herself, the actress who plays Marielle. So we know that they're already in pre-production right now, which means principal photography is right around the corner. And once that starts, I imagine we're going to start getting a lot more information on filming, new castings and stuff like that, just like we got during season 3 when they started slowly announcing stuff, slowly building that hype for From back up again. And I think we're right there. We're super close to that point now. They're already in pre-production, which is great news, for sure. For sure. Yeah, 50 Shades of Sarah. Love it. All right. Now, this next one is one that's been in the fandom for a very long time. I mean, we've talked about this being a possibility. Ravener has. I know Taryn has an eclipse theory as well. An eclipse happens during the day, and the monsters cause a massacre in the town. This is one of the only ones out of all of these that I feel is very plausible. I don't think it's an accurate leak. I just think it's a good theory. Because again, the eclipse thing has always been very interesting, knowing that, yes, you can go from day to night super fast, not super fast because eclipses don't happen super fast, but this is Fromville after all. Maybe it happens a little bit quicker here. Yeah, I could totally see this being a possibility where an eclipse comes at some point and all of a sudden that could be what triggers a new massacre. But in terms of this being an actual leak, I don't think that's true. I just think it's a good theory.
I totally agree. I don't think it's an actual leak. I think maybe somebody saw Terrence's theory of the eclipse, because he was talking eclipse in season 1.
He was talking about it for a while. Yeah, they saw him
Yeah,
and probably just threw it out there.
they
100%.
liked it, which I like it. I like the
It's a good theory.
eclipse
Yeah,
idea.
it is. It's a good one.
And we have evidence that nature and From is changes, right? Rapidly. The
Yeah.
snow, we all know about the snow. It was spring, summer, and then suddenly snow. And Victor, infamous for measuring the trees and saying the trees are moving closer to us. So
Yeah.
nature seems to change. The crops going from flourishing and being fertile and giving them food to suddenly rotting everything. So we
Yeah.
do know that nature is temperamental. It's a likely theory, I would say.
I like it. I think it's a really good theory. It's just, it fits. It makes sense. It's something I could totally see happening within the confines of Fromville, especially with the weather anomalies and the seasonal anomalies that we get in From. Yeah, 100% think that's a possibility. And I agree with you. I feel like someone probably saw Terrence's theory, threw this on there, and just thought, hey, it's a leak. Not a leak, just a really good theory, in my opinion. So yeah, I agree with you. 100% agree. All right, let's see what else we got here. A school bus comes filled with 11 children into town. I mean, I feel like this one's just kind of super random, and why 11 children, of all. I could understand if it was like 7 children, kind of to match the 7 children that got sacrificed during the first Ankui sacrifice, but why 11? I don't know.
Right? I don't think so.
7
Plus,
and
we
4
know
maybe?
that
Is that the 7 and 4 thing, 11 maybe? I don't know. I just feel like it's a little
there,
random.
there you go. I think that's where they got it from. But we know that children, or at least we have been noticing, there's not a lot of children there.
Yeah.
The season opens up with Megan's death, and then when she passes, then we get Ethan as
Yep.
the second child, right?
Yeah.
So we had Victor, he grew up, so he's no longer a child there, but there seems to be a cap or a limit on how many children can be alive at once.
Yeah.
So
We've never seen more than 2, right? I mean, I don't think we've ever seen
yeah.
more than 2 children in there at a time, young Victor and young Eloise. And then after that, it's only, like you said, it's only ever been 1. Megan had to die before Ethan showed up. So, no, yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. 100%. Definitely a not a real one, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows? Yeah, or 6, since Ethan's already a kid. 6 new kids come in, and Ethan becoming that 7th. You got 7 Ankui children, mirroring the 7 Ankui children that got sacrificed. I think that number makes a little bit more sense. But 11, I feel like 11 is just someone putting the 4s and 7s together and saying, hey, we got something here. But no, I don't think so. Don't think so. We shall see. We shall see. What is up, Unicorn One? Welcome. What is up, SL Rhodes? Good to see everybody. Yeah, it's been it's fun to kind of dive back into From again. I know we got a little ways to go before season 4 gets here, but knowing that filming is starting very soon, knowing that they're already in pre-production, we figured let's start talking some From again and take a look at some of these wild and ridiculous season 4 leaks. Let's see. Next, we have some characters manage to get through the bottle tree and find themselves inside the lighthouse near a boat with a certain number 47 on it. Yeah, I don't know about this one either. I think these are just kind of interesting theories that people are throwing in there and passing off like it's a leak. But I don't put much validity in this either. Some characters manage to get through the bottle tree and find themselves in the lighthouse. I don't know. I feel like when it comes to these bottle trees and the faraway trees in general, I feel like it's not firmly been established, but there's a lot of evidence pointing to the boy in white having some kind of hand and people successfully using these trees. Every time someone uses the tree, it has been directed or prompted by the boy in white. The only time that doesn't happen is when Dale uses the tree, and we see what happens to Dale. He's the Fromville Eternal Pool Boy now. So I feel like this is another kind of bogus one. It's just one of those things where it's interesting theory, but yeah, I don't see a bunch of people just scurrying into the bottle tree. Why? Why is everybody running into the bottle tree? For what reason? I feel like there would have to be something very big and very urgent happening to the town where they all had to escape at some point. But even that is a little nuts, I feel. So, yeah.
Yeah, not after Dell. First, you have Dell, right?
Especially that. No one's going to be brave enough to go into that tree after Dale. That's a very good point.
No. But then also they get chewed out by Boyd. So it's not just seeing Dale, but Boyd is also like, I told you, like, this is what's going to happen.
Who wants to go next?
I told you so. Exactly, right? And they were all very alarmed by it. So I think those two things combined, they're not likely to enter a bottle tree. Not anytime soon.
Yeah. I'm definitely when it comes to again, the eclipse is a good theory. That's the only one that I don't think it's a leak. I just think it's a good theory. But when it comes to the school bus of 11 children and characters running into the bottle tree and finding a boat with 47 on it, I must say this one is most likely
Of course, that's a fugazi. All right? That's a fugazi? How do you know it's a fugazi? He says it's a fugazi.
What's a fugazi?
The diamonds are fugazi.
No. What is a fugazi?
It is a fugazi. Another fake one indeed. All right, now this is where it gets super funny. This is where it just gets downright comical. This is where I laugh my ass off. Now, after everybody runs into the bottle tree and ends up at the lighthouse, all of a sudden, a giant spider weaves a web over the lighthouse and prevents them from leaving. Oh my God, ridiculous. Again, it's just, people, it just seems like people are just taking popular fan theories like the giant spiders, the 4s and 7s, the eclipses, and just kind of, people are just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks here, I feel. But no, when it comes to a giant spider weaving a web over the lighthouse and preventing them from leaving, I think this is another big fugazi.
No. And that wouldn't be a good, From doesn't do, which is what I love about the monsters. They look realistic. They look good. Okay, the monsters look good. So to pull off a giant spider, it just wouldn't look good. One that can
I don't want to see a
make a
giant
web.
spider.
No, and especially not one that can make a web to cover the entire lighthouse. It'd be ridiculous.
No, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing like some big spiders that could weave some like pretty big webs, like some of the webs that we saw at the end of season 1 when Sarah and Boyd wake up after their tent is dragged. But I don't know. I feel like, like you said, the monsters look so good. The horror in From up until this point, it's been, no, I don't want to say grounded, but it's been consistent. It's been pretty consistent. To all of a sudden just throw a giant spider into the show, for me, I feel like it's going to look nonsensical. I feel like it's going to look kind of stupid if they do that. So for me personally, I've never liked the giant spider theory, but who knows? That's just me personally. I know it's a super popular theory. A lot of people think that there will be a giant spider at some point, and that's totally cool. Just me personally, I don't want to see a giant spider personally.
And I see the chat. So Fromily, you guys are right. There better be a spider. Now, does it have to be that big? So
Exactly.
there better be a spider, but does it have to be that big?
Yeah.
Maybe something, smaller, a smaller spider, right? Something that looks good. I remember, Jeremy, you showed us a picture of a show that did a spider, like a giant spider in a good way. I can't remember which one,
Oh
but
yeah.
like a good looking spider, maybe a medium sized one. I
Maybe
don't
a
know.
medium-sized spider. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. Yeah. If they run out of options, they'll go through that tree. I mean, I feel like they would have to be very desperate to go through that tree. Like maybe if they did completely run out of options, maybe then. But I feel like they'd have to be very, very desperate, especially after the Dale thing. I think the Dale thing probably put a lot of fear into people in terms of not wanting to go near those trees. But who knows? Yeah, the Dale thing will keep people out of the tree. I think so. But again, you never know how desperate people get if things get bad enough. So you definitely want to can at least consider it. The spider worm cicada monster. Please no spider worm cicada monster. Please. I just don't want to see a giant spider. I love the horror aspect of From, and I love how consistent it's been up until this point. I just feel like a giant, massive spider will just, I don't know. I feel like it'll almost cheapen how sophisticated the horror has been up until this point, But that's just me. That is just me. The bile, I tell you, it all hinges on the bile, says Michael. Yeah, again, the bile was another very interesting one where, just like Boyd trying to trap a monster, the bile went nowhere too. It was a big old, bile bust, big old dud. Now, does that mean that the bile won't come back into play at some point? I don't know. I always kind of had a feeling that they would accidentally find some kind of use for the bile. Like, yes, they're planning on using it as a weapon, but part of me always thought that they would accidentally stumble upon some other use for the bile. But I don't know. I mean, who knows if the bile is going to come back into the storyline at this point? I'm not expecting it to. I don't think we'll see the bile again. But who knows? You never know. Again, I didn't think they were ever going to answer who dropped the rope either, and they ended up doing that. So you never know. You think we'll see the bile again?
I would hope so. I would hope so because they made a whole to do of it, right? They even put it in a container. So I know that that's what ended up killing Smiley. But it makes me think, right? When I think scientifically, could it be a vaccine? So you kill a monster, you end up not wanting to get pregnant, right? Because you don't want to be the vessel to bring the monster that you just killed back. Maybe
Yeah.
you drink the vial. Maybe the vial can be a sort of a vaccine to
An
keep you
inoculant.
from,
Hmm.
to keep you from being the next vessel.
Interesting. Maybe. Who knows? I'll take a giant. I will take a giant puppet spider over that creepy doll any day. Yeah, I was very glad that we dodged the whole talking doll thing. I was not a fan of the talking doll. Again, the horror has been so sophisticated on From up until this point. To throw like a random talking doll in there, it's just not as sophisticated as the rest of the horror on From is. And again, I mentioned this last week, and I fully acknowledge it could just be my personal bias because I absolutely hate Chucky. I think Chucky is the stupidest idea for a horror film or a franchise ever. I can't believe it was ever popular. And that's just my personal bias. I know Chucky's widely popular. There's probably many people that love Chucky, and that's totally cool. It's just not my thing. I never understood how this little doll could it never made sense to me that this little doll could create all of this havoc, even if it was possessed by some kind of evil spirit. It's at the end of the day, it's still a freaking 1 foot doll. But I don't know. I was very glad that we dodged the bullet there and we didn't get a full on talking doll, that it actually turned out to really be the boy in white. So I was happy for that. But when it comes to giant spider or talking doll, which one would I rather see on the show? Giant spider or actual full-on Chucky doll? Maybe the spider might be a little better. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the doll. I like
I
the
know you
doll.
do.
I just
I know you
like just the voice, the hello, Vector. That was not a good voice, okay? But if you do the doll and you give it a creepy voice, that
Mhm.
could work. because when the doll was screaming at Jade, those were some pretty good jump scares. So there was
Yeah,
potential for the doll to actually be scary. So I
yeah.
think it all depends on the voice. If you give it, a goofy voice like the one that they gave it, the
Yeah.
hello Victor, that was
Mhm.
just, it was just not what you expect from Jasper, right?
Yeah.
But I would take the doll for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
As long
Annabelle, right? It reminds me of Annabelle, who, by the way, is touring around the world. Um, she is a haunted doll, and they took her from her place in the Museum of Haunted Items, and she's touring all over the world. So
Mm,
she might make her way to you, Jeremy, since you express so much hatred for
bring it
haunted
on.
dolls.
Bring it on, Annabelle. Come on. I dare you. I dare you. But yeah, no talking doll, especially not with the voice, as you mentioned. Yeah, yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it for me. But yeah, in terms of giant spider weaving a web over the lighthouse and trapping people inside of it, I think we have another Fugazi here. Unfortunately, I am not buying it. Not buying it. All right, let's see what else we got. We got some other from leaks. This one was posted in the Discord, and this one was kind of interesting. And shout out to Adam for throwing this in there a little while back. But we have, this one's kind of a little bit more vague, not super detail oriented, but some interesting kind of things maybe. Big plot twist coming in season 4. I think we'll probably see some kind of plot twist in season 4. I think that's probably a given. Season 5 will be faster paced compared to the other seasons. Maybe, who knows? Season 4 will definitely be all about the beginning of Fromville, but we will still see some of the main cast, mostly Julie as she time walks. Now, I remember when this leak first came out. This was like right after season 3 ended. This leak came out, which kind of in and of itself points to it being completely bogus, as season 4 wasn't even written yet at that point. But I do remember this one. I remember when this one first came out, and people were saying that in season 4, we weren't going to see the main cast, that we weren't going to see Boyd, we weren't going to see Jade, RJ, like we weren't going to see any of these characters all of a sudden, that season 4 was solely going to be focusing on the original timeline. And I that's not going to happen. There's no possible way we're not going to see the main cast. I think we're definitely going to see a good amount of the original timeline in terms of finding out more about the original Jade, finding out more about the original Tabitha, finding out a little bit more about the sacrifice, the original parents, how they really became monsters, how the sacrifice came to be, who gave them the idea for this sacrifice. I think we're going to get a lot of those answers. I do think season 4 is going to explore that original timeline, but there's no way it's going to be the whole season and we're not going to see the main cast members. There's no way the show would risk doing that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We wouldn't like it, and I just don't think that they would do that, right? And hello, Adam. Adam is a regular in the Discord. If you haven't joined Jeremy's Discord, join Jeremy's Discord. It's so much fun. We talk there every day. We're talking from like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Adam is so polite always.
Yeah, the front
He
talks to the
always
back.
starts he always starts all of his messages with hello, ladies.
Hello, ladies. Yeah. Hello, ladies. I have some spoilers, so please try to remain calm while I'm writing this. Yeah, Adam's great.
Only
Adam's
for
great.
the ladies.
Only for the ladies.
ladies.
Yeah, shout out to
But
Adam.
no, I think it's some of the stuff sounds reasonable, plausible. Are they going to be focused on, the backstory? Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think we could all kind of guess that. Other than
Yeah.
that, no.
Yeah, not at the expense of the main cast, though. I mean,
No.
I don't think MGM or the creators of From would be that foolish. I mean, they know that this show is popular because of the cast, because people want to see Jade, they want to see Tabitha, they want to see Boyd, they want to see Victor. Sidelining those characters for an entire season it could kill the show. It could tank the show even. Like I would not suggest that from Ville creators, and I don't think they would do something like that. I think we'll get a heavy dose of the original timeline and we'll learn a lot more about it. But I think we're going to learn about it through the POV of our main characters like Jade and Tabitha. But yeah, sidelining them for a whole season would be a massive, massive mistake. But again, big shout out to Adam because this was fun. this was fun. And I remember this one when it was first posted a while back. So I know this one was kind of floating out there, this idea that the next season was going to be solely focused on, a different time period. I just, interesting, but don't think it's the case. Don't think it's the case. But yeah, there we have it. I think that was the last one. Yes, that was the last one, ladies and gents. Yeah, interesting leaks. Again, I don't think any of them are accurate. I think they're all just, fan theories that people are presenting as quote unquote leaks. I think they're all absolutely fugazi, but if nothing else, fun to kind of take a look at. Some interesting creativity there, if nothing else. So I at least tip my tinfoil hat to the creativity aspect of some of these leaks. But in terms of any of them being valid, absolutely not. They are all 100 million % fugazi.
Of course, that's a fugazi. All right.
That is a fugazi. But again, fun nonetheless. The old film Magic had a creepy ventriloquist doll and a fairly ambiguous about whether the doll was actually talking through much of the film. Yes, Magic. Oh my God, I totally forgot about Magic. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that forever. But yes, I do remember when Jasper the doll first popped up on From in season 3, a lot of people were bringing up the idea of Magic, how it kind of reminded them of the plot of Magic. And it's kind of super similar here. I mean, so much to the point where I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe John Griffin took some small inspiration from Magic for that Jasper aspect. I wouldn't be surprised at all, because they are very similar there in terms of the ambiguity of it, whether or not this doll's really talking or not. So yeah, I think that's, I wouldn't be surprised if he was influenced by it a little bit, maybe. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, someone didn't have a grandma who collected porcelain dolls. Happy for you. I did not, thankfully. I thankfully did not have a grandma or anyone who collected porcelain dolls, thankfully. Yeah, I'm not a Chucky fan. I am not a Chucky fan at all. The spiders at the end of season 1 were the size of large adult spiders. They were tiny babies, so logically the adult spiders would be dog-sized. Now, maybe a dog-sized one might not be the worst thing. I mean, I still think it's a little too big for what I would like to see on the show. But who knows? I think that's a lot better than this giant, massive spider just kind of popping up out of nowhere. Again, I know the spider theories are very popular, and there's a lot of foreshadowing for more spider action. But I don't know. Part of me just doesn't really want to see a massive giant spider. I feel like it's not as sophisticated as the horror we've seen on From up until this point. But then again, as some of you have mentioned, they did kind of already delve into this talking doll aspect. So who knows what's possible? Maybe there is a giant spider coming. Who knows?
I like the description, Nick. A dog-sized spider. It makes it sound cute. Maybe it could be domesticated. Also, Spidergate, Nikki.
Yes.
She had the clip of a spider that looked dog-sized. That spider looked like it could have been dog-sized. So
it did. It looked around potentially dog-sized. There was, I forgot about that. That's right. Nikki might have spotted something in the background in the beginning of season 2 when Boyd is first escaping from the hut where he found Martin. And you see this one little thing in the background. It's super quick. It's way in the background in the top left when Boyd is running in the woods. But some people think that was a shot of a giant spider. And again, it could have been, but I kind of always leaned a little bit more on the side of that was probably filming equipment that happened to fall into frame and they just didn't catch it in post-production. Because that kind of stuff happens all the time. And even huge productions like Game of Thrones. And I know I brought it up in the past, but Game of Thrones in particular, in season 7, when they were filming a scene behind the wall, if you look closely enough, there's literally a Ford F-150 truck in the freaking background. You can see just a giant freaking Ford F-150 on a mountaintop that Game of Thrones completely didn't even realize was in frame. It made it through post-production and everything. They never caught it. If you go and watch that episode of Game of Thrones nowadays, They have since went back and re-edited it. So if you watch that episode on HBO like Max right now, you won't see the truck. But if anybody watched that episode when it originally aired, you can see the fucking truck just in the corner in that episode. I have a still of it somewhere that I saved. I'll pull it up at some point. But because I remember I took a screenshot of it because I thought, oh, nobody's gonna believe this. I know they're gonna edit. I know they're gonna. HBO's like that. I knew they were gonna edit it out super fast for every other version of the show. So I knew this was probably gonna be the only place we're ever gonna be able to get to see this giant truck just in the back of Game of Thrones. So I did take a screenshot of it. But yeah, sometimes these things happen in productions where sometimes mistakes like this will make it through post-production where they just won't see it during the editing phase. And I think that's potentially what we're dealing with here on that From scene, where we see Boyd running through the woods. We see something that appears like a long, big kind of like black arm that could potentially be a giant spider leg. But for me, I think it's more along the lines of it's probably filming equipment. When you're filming scenes in the woods like that, sometimes they'll set up these tracks that they attach the camera to, and they'll have these long swing arms. And I think it was one of those. I think it was one of those arms that they were filming, following Boyd as he's running through the woods kind of thing. I think it was just a production error. I don't think it was a spider. But it did kind of really take Spidergate into the stratosphere. So if nothing else, it was a very good eagle eye from Nikki. So I got to give her credit for that. Just for spotting it alone, got to give her credit. Good stuff. I didn't see it. I certainly missed it.
Love Daddy Nikki. But also, wasn't there a Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones in the background? Because so the From people, when they were doing an interview, they mentioned the Starbucks cup. And they said this would not be like a Starbucks cup, saying everything that they really put into frame is there because they want it to be there. So they reference that cup, which makes me think they pay attention to detail. Every item in the frame and in the background has purpose.
Yeah, Game of Thrones made a lot of mistakes towards the end. There was one instance in season 7 where there was a water bottle just in frame. It's a scene it's the season finale of season 7 when they're all gathered in the dragon pit and they're all sitting on this little platform. You can see a water bottle just sitting right next to one of the actors. And then, yes, there's the famous coffee cup that we see at, it's right after they defeat the Long Night. And Daenerys is sitting at a table and there's a coffee cup right near her. That also happened as well. So yeah, these things happen every once in a while. Sometimes things make it through the editing phase and they don't get caught in post-production. It'll just be, simple mistakes. And yeah, I think that's what we're dealing with here. Just like the freaking truck on Game of Thrones. Like, I don't know how I don't know how they missed that truck. That one puzzles me to this day. And I think it just points more to the fact that they were really rushing to finish Game of Thrones. They wanted it to be done. And it's such a shame that they didn't stop and take the real time that show deserved. You set up one of the greatest shows in television history for the first 4 or 5 seasons. And then, you're so desperate to be done with it and to get onto your Star Wars project that you ended up losing anyway. That they just rush through it. And I think that is what happens when you rush through productions and you don't take the proper time to really put the time and care into post-production and you rush through it. You have stuff like that happening. There's no reason that an HBO production should have had a giant freaking truck in the background in a Westeros in a Game of Thrones episode. Like that should never have happened. And it does. It just kind of it points to how much they were rushing to get those last 2 seasons done. It's pathetic. Pathetic. Yeah, Game of Thrones Starbucks cup. Yeah, the coffee cup. Absolutely. Gotta love it. Got to love it. The Hanging Munchkin in Wizard of Oz. Yeah, there's been a lot of these throughout the history. There's one in Jaws too. I don't know if it's the original Jaws or the second Jaws. But there's a mistake where you can see like one of the cameramen in like the reflection of one of the windows when they're on the boat. It's not like super noticeable, but it's noticeable enough that a lot of people saw it. These things happen, unfortunately. Sometimes things just don't get caught in the editing phase and they end up in the final production, the final version. Happens. First episode, Extra walks in the background with jeans on. Oh, we did see one in season 3. That's right. I forgot about season 3. When Tabitha's in the real world, we see that one mistake where they have an extra on one side of the street and on the other side of the street at the exact same time. Same lady, same dress, the exact same time. And yes, you know, I mean, they film these sequences out of order and they stitch them together to make it seem like it's one continuous shot, but it's really a bunch of different shots that they string together. And that's what happened there with From on season 3, where you see this very clear lady wearing a very distinct dress on both sides of the road at the exact same time. So yeah, these things happen. These things happen from once in a while.
They need to watch it because I remember that and we were all obsessing over it.
Yeah.
We were like zooming in and saying, what could this mean? Could this mean a wormhole, a parallel universe?
Yep. It's yeah, I mean, it happens. It tends to happen sometimes. But it's funny. It's always funny spotting these things. For me anyway, I always love finding little production errors in film. It's always fun to kind of find these things. But yeah, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, when you see some kind of anomaly in the background, it's most likely not story driven. It's most likely a mistake. And I do think that's what is going on with Spider-Gate. I don't think it was a spider. I do think it was just one of those swing arms that is attached to those camera dollies. Because they look exactly like that too. Like literally exactly like what we saw on the episode. That's what those camera arms look like. So yeah, mistakes happen. People are only human. It happens. It tends to happen. But yeah, there we have it, folks. The leaks for season 4. The ridiculous leaks for season 4. And if anyone wasn't here for our last week's show, this is the set that they are now building from season 4. From the 4th season is officially in pre-production right now, which is great news. They're building new sets for season 4, which is great. Who knows what this is going to be for? Still have no idea. But yeah, they are officially in pre-production. They are building sets, which means principal photography, the actual filming, is right around the corner. If they're gearing up like this, that means they're getting the sets ready to start filming. So I imagine the actual filming itself will probably start within the next month or so. I heard filming could start as early as next month. That's what I've heard from people I know, my sources. But it'll be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see. I mean, I cannot wait for them to officially start filming once again. I feel like the season 3 filming process was so fun to cover. I mean, I love covering the filming process almost as much as I love covering the actual show, because it's just fun to kind of see some of these behind the scenes things. So I imagine once season 4 filming does officially start, we're going to start seeing tons of stuff, and we're going to start having finally, again, we're going to start having some new stuff to talk about where From is concerned, because it's been so long since we've had anything new to talk about. You know, again, this picture came out last week and it was interesting. It was nice to have something new to talk about. It was nice to know that they're in pre-production already. But yeah, I can't wait for them to be full on in season 4 filming mode. That way we start getting all of these cryptic pictures and set photos posted by the actors. You know, they're always posting stuff on Instagram. And that was a big fun part of the season 3 filming. Kenny in particular, Ricky He, the actor who plays Kenny, was posting shit left and right. That was, you know, we all had to kind of pore over and, you know, dissect and see what it could potentially mean. So I am looking forward to it. I cannot wait for season 4 filming to start so we can really start diving into some new From stuff and have some new stuff to talk about again. Because again, I love talking From. I can talk season 4 predictions until everybody's blue in the face. But at some point, it's going to be nice to have some new stuff to talk about, like castings and new photos and stuff. So bring it on. Let's get this show on the road. Filming needs to start ASAP, I say. If I can start already. The weather's perfect. Now's the perfect time for them to start. You know, we know that they definitely do not want to film during winter. Not again. I mean, we saw how much trouble they went through filming season 3 during the dead of winter in Nova Scotia. It was tough for them. So I imagine they are definitely going to avoid that like the plague. So right now would be the perfect time to start filming. That way they could wrap filming up probably by fall or so. But we'll see. We shall see. But I imagine it's right around the corner. I imagine the official filming, is right around the corner. Should be fun. It should be fun. I cannot wait. And another thing I can't wait for before we close it out, PM and I were talking a little bit about this, a big film that we are very much looking forward to, 28 years later, is coming, ladies and gents. And I cannot freaking wait. I cannot wait for this film. This is my most anticipated film that I've looked forward to in a long time. I can't remember the last time I've been this excited for a film, for a movie. Probably not since Dune have I been this excited to actually go see a movie in the theaters. I very rarely go to theaters these days. I usually just wait for it to pop up on a streaming service like they usually always do a few months after their release. But this is one that I am definitely going to be going to see in the theater. I cannot wait for 28 years later. It's one of my favorite franchise. And just seeing everything that they're putting together for this film, not just this film, but the 3 films that we have coming. We don't have just one 28 years later film coming. We have 3 new 28 years later films coming. 2 of them are already completed filming, which is great news. We're going to get 2 movies back to back, in one this year, one next year. And I imagine we'll probably get the 3rd in 2027. One a year sounds great. We're not going to have to wait 2 or 3 years in between these movies. Getting one a year is freaking awesome. And I cannot wait to see it. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything is going to pick up. They're playing this 28 years later film like it's going to be a direct sequel to the first one. It seems like they're not really acknowledging 28 weeks later as canon. So a lot of the stuff that happened in 28 weeks later, I don't know how much that's going to be referenced in the film. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland have talked about 28 years later in terms of it being a direct sequel to the original 28 Days Later. So I don't know if weeks is even canon here at this point. It doesn't seem like it is for this film. But I can't wait to see it. I mean, everybody has been wanting this franchise to return for so long. I know Cillian Murphy has wanted to dive back into it for a very long time. We all want to know what's up with his character. Is he still alive? Is he still around? There are reports that he is going to be involved in the trilogy. I'm hearing he's not going to be in the first 28 years later film. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of shows up maybe right at the end and they kind of have like a cliffhanger of him returning and setting it up for the second film, The Bone Temple. But he is going to be involved in the trilogy in some kind of capacity. I imagine it'll be probably pretty big too. I mean, he is a huge character from this franchise. Everybody wants to see him return. Everybody loves Cillian Murphy. He's a phenomenal actor. But I can't wait. 28 years later looks like it's going to be the best horror film that we have gotten in a very, very long time. The trailers have been so fucking awesome. I mean, how good have these 28 years later trailers been, right? With the Boots poem, and it's so good. So good.
It's so good. And I love the trailer has kept the same theme, because that Boots poem put to a beat was amazing, mind-blowing, right? When the second trailer came out, I said there's no way that they could top it. I almost don't want to see a second trailer because the first trailer was amazing. And this is how trailers used to be, right? Now I feel like if I watch a trailer, I could dissect the trailer and pretty much figure out what the movie
learn the
is.
whole movie.
They're giving me the beginning,
totally
middle,
right.
and end. But now with this one, they did such an amazing job because you have no idea what's going on. It makes you feel so unsettled with this Boots poem. And it made me very happy to see that in the second trailer, they used the same poem, but made it even better. How do you make that even better? And they did by just upping the ante. So I think because of these 2 trailers, the film is going to actually deliver on its promises, because it's promising to be epic. And due to the trailers and how on theme the branding has been, the posters, everything that they're putting out is on theme, and it seems to be cohesive. I think that this is going to be a good one. When you showed me this still here of the poster, the posters in Spanish, but I think it gives us direct confirmation of the change that you pointed out in your video when you did the trailer breakdown. In Spanish, it says, El tiempo no ha curado nada. Time has not cured anything. And if we remember a specific confirmation, because when 28 Days Later was out, they said at some point, these zombies will die off. if you are able to go away to keep yourself away from the zombies, from the apocalypse, at some point they will not survive past what the human body can maintain, right? But this is direct confirmation that they have evolved. That time and what we believe to be true in that specific movie is not true. Time
Mhm.
has not cured them. They somehow have managed to remain alive. And so I remember you mentioned this in your breakdown of how they could potentially have figured out a way to eat something, right, in order to maintain themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad they're addressing it because that was one thing that some people were worried about. Because, like you said, they did kind of pretty clearly set that up in 28 Days Later that eventually these things would die off. They would starve, they would die off. But apparently that is not the case. Here we are 3 decades later, and these things are going, and they are still going very strong. And they appear to be stronger and more intelligent than they've ever been based on some of these trailers. And I have a new 28 Years Later video dropping tomorrow here on the channel. So definitely, you do not want to miss this one. I'm having so much fun making these 28 Years Later videos. It's probably been the most fun I've had covering something since From Ended, really. But tomorrow I will have a 28 Years Later video dropping. There's some new stills that recently came out that I just came across, and they point to some very interesting things that I believe are going to be happening in 28 Years Later and what maybe the general plot might be about. And it's going to be wild. I think this film is going to be very, very wild. I think it's going to blow people away. I do think this is going to be the best horror film people have seen in years. And I can't wait. I mean, the cast is great. And like you said, I love how the trailers have been just so perfect in terms of drawing people in, but not giving you too much where it gives the whole freaking movie away. I love that because you're right. So many trailers these days, they give you the whole freaking movie. Like you can, especially people like us and you guys in the chat who, are very attentive and, we're kind of good at breaking these things down. When we see a trailer that gives us a little too much, it kind of spoils the whole movie for us where we kind of know everything that's coming. They give too much away in these trailers sometimes for shows and for movies. But I love how 28 Years Later is not doing that. They're barely giving us anything. Alex Garland and Danny Boyle are being very tight-lipped too. They're not revealing really much of the plot other than just the basic general synopsis. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I think this is going to be a phenomenal film. I cannot wait for all three of them. I love that we're not just getting one, but we're getting a trilogy, all new trilogy of 28 Years Later with 2 of the 3 films already done filming. This is going to be epic. I think this is going to be absolutely epic. And I'm having a lot of fun in this latest 28 Years Later video that I'm currently working on right now. I'm going to finish it tonight and I'm going to upload it. So it'll probably premiere tomorrow during the day at some point. So definitely be on the lookout for that and definitely leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section after it airs. I'd love to know what you guys think, especially people who are familiar with the 28 Years and 28 Days franchise. Definitely let me know what you guys think because I got some interesting things that I'm going to be throwing into this video and it's been so fun to talk about. But yeah, I cannot wait. This is my most anticipated film of the year. We'll be covering it extensively here on the channel, just like we have been up until this point. It is going to be premiering on the 20th, June 20th. So it's coming, guys. We are only a month away from 28 Years Later hitting theaters, and I cannot freaking wait. Again, I'm so psyched about this film. And I think it's going to blow everybody away. I think this is going to be one of those ones where people remember it for a while. And I think it's going to set up the Bone Temple beautifully. And yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be freaking phenomenal. And I am having so much fun breaking it down. I'm having so much fun doing videos on it. But yeah, keep an eye out, guys. Tomorrow, at some point during the day, I will be uploading my next 28 Years Later film and 28 Years Later breakdown. It's a theory / breakdown, a little hybrid of both. And I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to continuing to discuss 28 Years Later while we get closer and closer for it to release. Now, with it only being a month out, you think we'll get another trailer before it airs?
I mean, I would love that, but they are not overly giving us information because the trailers, once again, they don't give away the plot. So I doubt it. I would be happy if just 3 trailers come out. That's enough. But in the meantime, guys, watch the video breakdown of Jeremy's second 28 years later breakdown. So
Mhm.
you could see how good they improved on that poem.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So watch that in the meantime. And yes, I see you guys in the chat about Sinners. I think that this is actually 28 years later will deliver what
Yeah.
Sinners didn't deliver, because
Yeah.
unfortunately I happen to agree with you. Sinners, the trailer seemed to be a really good trailer. Like the movie was going to
It was
be
a good
amazing.
trailer, yeah, but the movie.
Such a good trailer. Exactly. The movie, there was a lot of things that they didn't follow through on, and I hate to be critical of it, but the trailer and the movie didn't match. It wasn't as good. I'm not saying it's bad. It was a good movie, but it just wasn't as epic as that trailer. Because when you see the trailer for Sinners, it's an epic trailer. Just the movie didn't end up being as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it was a decent movie at best. I was expecting it to be a great movie. Like you said, the trailer for Sinners looked really, really good, and when it came out, it, it was kind of a little bit of a disappointment to the point where I didn't even want to do a video on it, to be honest. Yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment. Bit of a disappointment. And I think 28 years later is going to blow that film out of the fucking water. 10 times over. I expect 28 years later to be much better than Sinners. But that's just my personal opinion. I know Sinners did wildly well at the box office, which is great to see. It's nice to see that there are still some people going to the theater and actually seeing films in the movie theater. Love to see that. Glad it did well. Super happy for its success. I just thought it was a bit of a letdown. Wasn't a huge fan of Sinners, but cannot wait for 28 years later. I think this is going to be the best horror film that we have gotten in a very long time. And I saw someone mentioning Talk to Me. I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. Yeah, it looks pretty creepy. It looks pretty creepy. I'll probably do a video on that after I'm done seeing it. Yeah, it looks interesting. It looks super interesting. There's a couple good horror films that are coming out this summer that I'll definitely be doing some breakdowns on for sure. And yeah, Talk to Me is definitely one of them. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty creepy. Talk to Me looks super creepy.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it tonight. That's a really good tip. Inside Square Circle, the King Judah. I'm trying to read the username. Talk to Me. I thought, is that a second movie? There was already one movie, right? Talk to Me. Is this the second movie for that same universe?
I don't know. I am not sure. I am not sure. Oh, Talk to Me. I'm thinking of a different movie. I don't think I've seen this trailer for Talk to Me yet. Okay, this looks pretty interesting. Oh, this is a year old. This movie's probably already out yet. I imagine. Is this movie already out? If it's the.
That's why I was wondering if it's like a second part of it, because I know that there was a movie that was out that was Talk to Me, but we'll check it out. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. It does. It looks pretty interesting. It looks pretty interesting. Yeah, I'll probably check it out. I will probably check it out. But yeah, no, there was a new horror film that's coming out. It looks super creepy. It's with this creepy little girl that gets brought back to life. What the fuck is the name of it? I'm blanking on the name of it, but it looks super fucking creepy. Super creepy. I'm gonna have to find it, but I know it's coming out pretty soon, and it looks good. Looks good. I'll find the name of it. I'll find the trailer for it. And I'll drop it in the Discord after the stream. Bring Her Back from the Oh yeah, Bring Her Back. I think that is the one that I'm thinking about. Yes, I think that's the one I'm talking about. The one that I'm thinking about, at least. Bring Her Back. Let me see. Yes, Bring Her Back. Yes, this is the one that I'm thinking of. I cannot wait to see this film. This trailer looks so fucking creepy. And I love A24. A24 Studios have put forth some of the best horror films I've seen in years. Like they're a really good independent studio, not a big budget crazy studio. They're independent and they put together just really quality films. I cannot wait to see Bring Her Back. This looks really freaking good. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that trailer. You totally are the movie horror guru inside the Square Circle. That has the trailer with all the children running like an airplane style. I remember that trailer. It looks really good. Yeah.
Oh, that one looks good. Oh, with the children running, that is Weapons. That's actually Weapons.
Oh, okay.
That looks super fucking good too. I cannot.
Is that horror?
That's horror. Yes, that looks like a really good horror film. I can't wait to see Weapons. That looks really good. The trailer's so creepy, isn't it? You see all these children just kind of running down the street, and
Yeah.
it's creepy. It's got super creepy vibes. I cannot wait to see Weapons. Weapons and Bring Her Back are very, very highly anticipated. I cannot wait to see both of these films, and we'll definitely be doing breakdowns on both of them. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the Weapons trailer, check it out. If you have not checked out the Bring Her Back trailer, definitely check it out. If you have not checked out the new 28 Years Later trailer, definitely check that one out as well. And I can't wait. We got some really, really good horror to come. Some really, really good horror to come, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to be diving into all of it right here on the channel while we wait for From Season 4 to hit our screens once more. But that is going to do it for us tonight. I want to give you a big thank you to everybody for joining us on this fine, fine Sunday evening. And we will continue to be doing some From streams. I mean, it's been fun talking about From again. I know it's been a while since we've talked about it, so I figured now's a good time to kind of dive back in, especially with filming right around the corner, which means we will have some pretty new stuff to talk about From very, very soon. We'll have some just all new stuff to talk about, which is very exciting. I cannot wait for the filming to actually start. They're already in pre-production, which is great news. They're building new sets. Love that. So yeah, bring on the filming for Season 4 of From. We'll be covering all of the filming for Season 4, just like we did for Season 3. And again, it's just it's exciting to have some new From stuff to talk about again. Bring it on. I can't wait. I cannot wait. But big thank you to each and every one of you. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Sunday evening, and I hope you have a good start to your week tomorrow as well. And of course, huge thank you to my wonderful co-host, PM Philosophy, for joining me on this fine Sunday evening as well. Thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. I love hanging out with you guys, and I love seeing the family reunited. It feels so good to see all of you. And I know that they were talking in the Discord about fun theories, and they were throwing a ton of just like really fun.
That's what we're going to do next. Yes.
Yes. So
Definitely.
I know that some of you were waiting for that today, but next time, that way we could gather a ton of them for you.
Yes.
We'll talk about that. It includes, iconic theories like Terrence's alternate ending, right? April Fool's joke. So iconic things like that. We want the iconic, insane, creative ideas.
Crazy.
We'll do that next time. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's a great idea. You're totally right. I meant to get to it tonight, but we ran a little too long, which is my fault. My apologies to each and every one of you. But for anyone who hasn't had a chance to throw in a wild, crazy From theory, now you have plenty of time to do it before our next From stream. And yes, as PM mentions, on our next From stream, we'll be diving into all of the craziest theories. Throw them in the Discord if you want. Throw them in the comment section of this stream if you want. We'll look at both places, and we'll talk about all of the craziest From Season 4 theories during our next stream. And that should be fun. That should be very fun. I cannot wait to hear what you guys come up with, because everybody in the Discord, everybody in the chat, you guys have always been super creative with all of your theories. So I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. The crazier, the better. Get out that tinfoil hat, guys. Dive into that rabbit hole. I want to see your craziest From Season 4 theories, either in the Discord or in our comment section for this video, and we will talk all about them on our next From stream. So bring out the crazy, ladies and gents. Bring out the crazy. And until next time, stay safe out there, ladies and gents, in this crazy, crazy world we find ourselves in. And we will see each and every one of you on the next one.